This is a HeadGum podcast.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Jeff Rubin Show, and this is probably our greatest recurring tradition on this podcast. It is Jeff and Pat's Summer Movie Review 2017. Please welcome to the show, writer for Samantha Bee, Pat Cassels.
Hey,
what's the proper name of your show? Full Frontal with Samantha Bee.
Full Frontal with Samantha Bee.
Emmy-nominated Full Frontal with Samantha Bee.
Yes, thank you.
Congratulations. So, this is the episode of the summer where Pat and I report on all the work we've been doing, seeing all the stupid movies. We spend 5 minutes on each movie. This is a very tight 5 minutes. We are timed by a giant, he looks like 500 or 600 pound man wearing no shirt, standing next to a gong.
Mm-hmm.
After 5 minutes, he will ring the gong. He will say nothing else, but he's standing here in the corner.
Yeah. Did you find him on TaskRabbit or Craigslist?
Yeah.
He looks like a pro.
Yeah, he's good. I've used him for, just personal use before. So, after we've been talking for a movie for 5 minutes, it will gong. Well, sort of have to move on. Loose rules.
Mm-hmm.
And
no, I'll respect the gong. I'll respect the gong,
but I got a lot I want to say about a lot of these movies.
Yeah,
so
true.
We are going to jump around a little chronologically. We were just talking about it, and usually we start at the beginning of the summer and go to the end. This year, we're jumping around a little.
Why not?
Pat, here's a question I actually want to put to you. For all of these movies, I've been thinking about how, movies are not... I don't know, it's hard sometimes to say if a movie is, good or bad. And there's definitely movies I see that I enjoy, and I don't think they're very good movies. And also, the flip side, there's movies I see that I know are good movies, and I don't really enjoy them very much for whatever reason. So I was thinking, maybe this year we could look at all these movies, and rather than coming out on if it's good or bad, say who we would recommend it to and who we wouldn't recommend it to.
Like among our friends?
No, not specific people, but just what kind of person should be watching this movie, rather than if it's good or bad.
I'm into it, yeah. I like that. I don't like giving thumbs up, thumbs down reviews anyway,
It's okay, so... Let's get in. Let's start with one we both saw. How about Baby Driver? What about Baby Driver?
Oh, Baby Driver.
All
okay.
right. I'm going to
on the clock?
Signal to the man in the corner. We are now talking about Baby Driver. Baby Driver came out June 28th, directed by Edgar Wright, and starring a bunch of people. I don't know. So, what I feel like a lot of people may not know, just the basic premise or what this movie's about.
Yeah.
This is... It's kind of like a fun caper bank robbing movie with a lot of car chases, and then sort of notably, it's all set to music, or most of it's set to music, and most of the cuts are to music, and it's almost like a long music video.
that aspect of it I found pretty interesting. How it's I've never really seen a movie quite like it. I don't think I loved it as much as some of my friends did, even though I obviously love Edgar Wright. But it's not a musical. I don't think it would qualify as a musical, but yeah, the way that it's all edited with I've just never seen that before in a movie that isn't, ostensibly a musical.
Yeah, I also liked it, but I think it's probably my least favorite Edgar Wright movie, which is not bad. I like all Edgar Wright movies, so that doesn't mean it's not good or anything.
Well, it's his first. I do like that it's his first normal movie, which is I find, even though it's weird to call a movie with crazy car chases and stuff normal, but. It's not sci-fi, it's not fantasy, it's not like a genre parody like Hot. Every movie he's done other than this has been pretty out there, genre-wise. And this one's Justin Lin could have made this movie,
It's a little more. I mean, the music conceit.
I like Justin Lin. Let me clarify.
the music conceit's pretty styling. I guess, it's fun to... Obviously, this is true of almost all these movies. I don't think any of them are, miserable to watch. I don't think I saw any... Well, there's a few, actually. But most of these movies are at least, tolerable. Baby Driver's, goes down easy. It's an easy watch. It's funny. It's fun. The performances are great. Obviously, I thought the main kid, Angel...
I was going to say, I don't know his name.
He's fine, but also, you got a bunch of ringers in there, like John Hamm, Kevin Spacey. I thought Jamie Foxx was particularly good.
Yeah.
And, So all of that is good, but I guess at the end, like reflecting on it, like it was fun watching it, but like I guess I'm not sure what I was supposed to take away from it and like what it was really, But I like that he's about.
Yeah,
I guess
I do like. I just really
maybe
like.
It doesn't have to be or anything, but
I really respect when directors like pivot after a couple of movies and don't do the same thing, exact thing over.
Yeah.
And Edgar Wright's last couple of movies, this one not included, were all obviously like everyone loved them. Like World's End, Shaun of the Dead is basically a classic.
Yeah.
And like, but so it's cool of him. He could have done he probably could have done 10 more of those movies of like weird, funny genre sci-fi parodies, and he decided like, no, I'm just going to make like a straight up race car movie. Like that's what I really mean. It sounds like a weird compliment, like, but the normality of it was kind of refreshing to me. I just like that he's trying something different.
Let me ask you about that title. I think it is a terrible title for a movie. I've seen the movie. I don't know what it means. Like, no one calls him the Baby Driver or anything. His name, like, I don't even understand.
His name is Baby, though, isn't it?
Yeah, but like, what's Baby Driver? That's not like a sentence or like a phrase. Anyone like what use that in a sentence? The word Baby Driver, like
right,
he
the grammar of it.
Is he the Baby Driver? Is
Baby Driver?
And the reason I'm bringing it up is because I recommended this movie to my father. I get my love of stupid movies from my father, and my father loves car chases. His all-time favorite movie.
Your dad loves cars, period.
Yeah,
right? He's a big car maniac.
He really likes cars, and he really likes movies with car chases. And his favorite movie is The Blues Brothers. And even before I saw Baby Driver, I saw the reviews, and I was like, Dad, I think you're going to want to see this movie. I'm hearing there's a lot of good car chases in this movie. He went and saw it. He liked it. He had a great time. But he cannot, for the life of him, remember the name of this movie. Like, I've talked to him about it like 3 or 4 times, and every time he's like, the baby movie, baby something. And, like, I don't know. I just wonder. I guess I'm curious if you think the title, like, affected the reception of the movie at all.
I don't know if it's definitely not. I'm sure, like, the studio executive, if the studio probably would rather have called it, like, Hot Pursuit or whatever. That's actually, what I mean? I'm sure they would have given a much less interesting title if they had their druthers. Here, one thing I will say, I noticed that a lot of some friends were. Just when they're like in that parent way, when their wires would cross, they would call it Boss Baby.
Right,
because Boss Baby came out this summer too. It was also a pretty big movie, but very, very different. It's kind of like that Jon Stewart, John Daly weird like wire crossing thing. I'm sure. I bet you there's like one person in the planet. There's got to be in the whole world who accidentally saw Boss Baby, bought a ticket to Boss Baby when they meant to see Baby Driver, or vice versa, right?
We only have
that sounds okay.
That sounds right.
Is the gong coming up?
We got like 20 seconds left. The other thing I want to say, just looking at my notes about Baby Driver, is that I was really surprised how violent it got in the end. And like, I'm not squeamish about violence, as you'll hear over the course of this podcast, but like, I was just like not, based on the first like 2/3 of the movie, I was like, not expecting the finale and like the last half of it or whatever to be as sort of violent as it was, and that sort of
Oh no!
Ooh.
Well, we didn't say who do you recommend. Who
do we recommend? I mean, Baby Driver's a fun movie. It's pretty easy to recommend to anyone. I'm like my dad. I recommended it to my dad, so that's easy. Dads like it.
Yeah, I would also. And that again, like these sound like backhanded compliments, but definitely parents.
But here's the thing:
it's really fun, and there's not a lot of sex in it, so there's no awkwardness there.
But I would not recommend it to people who don't like action movies, because the action is fun, and it's easy to watch, but like I don't think it really transcends that. Like that's the reason to go see it, is you like watching fun car chases, and it's great at that.
If you like the Fast and the Furious movies, but you thought the last one was a little over the top, this one could be a good one. This could be a good. This is like Fast and the Furious 4, not 7.
All right, well, why don't we move on from Baby Driver, keep in the Cars theme, and it is time for Jeff's annual Pixar rant as we move on to Cars 3, a movie you did not see, but you better believe I saw.
You don't have to do this, but I do like, as you pick the movies, trying to find the most thematically close one.
Okay.
Or finding some connection. I did not see this. I'm sorry. I haven't seen any of the Cars movies, believe it or not. Yeah.
So let me quickly recap for you my thoughts on the Cars movies.
Yes.
I think Cars 1 is actually underrated. It was by far the worst Pixar movie at the time, but it's not bad. That's like the worst Edgar Wright movie. It's not bad at all. Cars 1 is totally fine. It's not great. It's not, it's no Ratatouille or Up or anything, but it's totally fine. It's pretty good. Cars 2 is awful. It is still the worst Pixar movie. Cars 1 is this movie about a race car, and he breaks down. He has to learn to slow down a little, and it's in this small town. He learns maybe he doesn't always have to go fast. Cars 2 is like his friend Mater becomes like an international super spy. It's like really
less human themes in that one.
Cars 3 actually, this is what completely ignores the events of Cars 2, which I really like. It's much more like Cars 1.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so this is one of the few movies, actually, where I actually kind of need to discuss the ending a little bit to talk about my feelings about it. So I guess, spoiler alert for Cars 3, we got about 4 minutes of Cars 3 talk left if you're going to see the end. Okay, so this is not that spoilery because it was in all the trailers, but Lightning McQueen, the main car, Owen Wilson, gets in like a horrific car wreck. And it's like the serious Pixar scene in the movie, and it's pretty. I mean, it looks great. Like they probably had like 50 Pixar like geniuses like studying car wrecks for like 2 years to do this one scene. Yeah. It doesn't look like you don't see the eyes or anything.
Baby Driver also. Some very notable, amazing car wrecks.
We're talking about Cars 3 now, Pat. This is my Cars 3
Sorry,
it looks like a real car crash. Like, you don't see their goofy eye. Like, you don't see him, like, his mouth opening as he's, like, flipping over. Like, it just looks like a real car wreck. And, like, so I saw the movie opening weekend. There's, like, a lot of, like, kids chattering or whatever. I get it. It's a Pixar movie. But after that car wreck, silence.
Wow.
Like, it, like, really changed the temperature in the room. And we heard one kid ask his friend, ask his parents, is he dead? Which was really, like, it was almost worth going to see the movie to, like, hear the oxygen sucked out of the room after the serious car crash
That's
scene.
so crazy.
So, then the rest of the movie is about, like, Lightning trying to get back into it and training, and he has this trainer, and the trainer is like, you know, I always wanted to race, but I never had a chance. And then, no one ever gave me a chance. And then Lightning, like, can't quite race again. And it's obvious he should be training the other woman. And that's where that is the coach. And he should be training his trainer.
Yeah.
Like, he should become a coach and stop competing. Because there's all these, like, new computer cars that are beating him.
Owen Wilson should.
Yeah, and that's, like, obviously where the movie's going. But it doesn't get there till, like, the last few minutes of the movie. Like, it takes Lightning so long to realize that. Like, he basically doesn't deserve credit for when he finally gets there. Like, he goes and visits Doc Hudson, who's the Paul Newman car in the first movie. He goes and visits, like, all of Doc's friends. And they're like, Doc was never happier. Like, and he sees him racing. He's like, boy, he looks so happy. I wish I could have seen him racing. He's like, Doc told us he was never happier than when he was coaching you. And Lightning's like, cool. Well, I'm going to go race again. Like, he's just not fucking getting it. And then, like, he actually goes and starts the last race. And then, like, something happens and he, like, drops out of the race and suddenly replaces his position with the other car. And it's finally nice when this happens.
But it just take a while.
But he literally starts. He started and ran half the race already before he's like, you know what? You should be the one racing.
But it sounds like. But it was like. It sounds like this one is much closer to the first one.
It is.
Like,
it is. And this is not.
So what happened with? Why did the second? Why was because not only?
I don't know.
Not even talking about quality. Like. It just seems so fundamentally different than almost every other Pixar movie. What was different?
I don't know.
Like a different boss in charge, a different writer or something?
No, I mean, I guess. I mean, I assume John Lasseter is, like, touching all this. I don't know a lot about, like, the Cars.
Spies were really in 2007.
This is a more human concept. I mean, Cars is, like, super toy-friendly. Like, it's the most toy-friendly Pixar franchise. They sell a ton of toys. So, like, the Spies and the Gizmos is probably how they got there. So, like, this is sort of a human lesson, but it's a weird thing. The lesson is, like, maturing and realizing when you're past your prime and it's time to move on, which is a very weird lesson to teach in the most kid-friendly Pixar thing. It is like a lesson that is not applicable to anyone watching the movie for like 50 years. You know?
The whole like getting old. That's like Toy Story 3 though. That has like I feel like the themes that are like when you go to college, get rid of your toys, or like. I don't know, like the whole like mortality thing in that, which is great. That movie's obviously very good.
Childhood's End is a little different than like this is like almost like about retirement, which is like a weird thing. I only have 20 more seconds.
So is Toy Story 3 kind of. They go to the retirement home and stuff.
That's
and they're both part 3s.
But Cars is so much more kid friendly. I got 10 seconds left. I gotta blow through the gong reporting this last piece of information, which is they go and visit some of Doc's friends. One of them is played by Margot Martindale, and one of them is played by Clay Davis from The Wire. Isaiah Whitlock, I think is his name.
I think you're right.
And here we go. You gotta hear this. So there's a lot of talk out there. There's a thing.
The large man with the gong thing is looking at Jeff disapprovingly right now, but we'll give him a pass.
There's a lot of popular. There's a thing I've seen online a few times, and it's funny about how like Cars. There's a lot of logical holes in the Cars universe. Like there's like a tiny little child car cheering, and it's like, does he grow up? Is he stuck as a child car forever? There's like a million things like that you could pick apart in the Cars world. One thing that I've seen online a few times, it is funny, is that at some point Cars invokes World War II, and like, what does that mean? Is there like a car Hitler? Was there like a car Holocaust? Like, what? And so someone like kind of spun that. In this one, the Margot Martindale car says to this trainer car, she's like, back when we started, some people didn't want us racing. Isn't that right, Isaiah Whitlock car? And he's like, that's right. And kind of the implication is that like women and cars of color, whatever that means, had to like there was racism and sexism in the Cars universe in like the 20s.
Heavy.
And then it's just like, what does that even like? How can you even be racist to a car? They're all different
colors.
I mean, I don't understand. Yeah, racism like in humanity doesn't like totally make sense. So maybe
listen, Jeff, I'm sorry this like shook your little narrow Cars worldview.
Well, the thing about the World War II thing is it requires, like, they probably didn't think about that when they were doing it. Like, I think there's a joke in the Planes movie where, like, there's a World War II plane, and then...
Let me ask you, okay,
but this is the movie stopped and, like, explicitly mentioned...
What kind of car would Hitler Hitler be? Probably like an old, like...
German, I guess,
like
right?
a Model T or something like that. Yeah, like a Volkswagen. Or black, dark Volkswagen.
I gotta tell you, I cannot recommend Cars 3 for adults. I really didn't think it was very good. Even Cars 1 and Cars 2, maybe, though I don't remember Cars 2 very well.
So not for your parents.
No. Cars 1...
Maybe for your niece or nephew.
Has some pretty good car jokes in it. There's like the bugs are VW bugs, and Pixar always like layers on like fun like car jokes like that. Cars 3 like isn't even funny. Like I cannot really recommend that.
I know who I'd recommend this to.
Who?
My second youngest nephew, Christian, who recently has really gotten into Hot Wheels and stuff. Perfect.
Oh, yeah,
he's a little kid, and he's the perfect age. He's like a little kid.
I should say I know who that's for. Like I know that is who Cars are for. I know when I go see Cars 3 what I'm signing up for. So yeah, and I just want to confirm everyone's suspicion. Yes, Cars 3 is indeed for children. All right, let's move on. Let's talk about one that you saw that I didn't. This is one when we recorded the last episode of this podcast. You texted me while we were recording that you had seen it. It is The Mummy, starring Tom Cruise. I did not make it to The Mummy.
What's the thematic connection between mummies? It's already the wheels are already falling off.
Yeah, this is just one you saw that I didn't see.
Okay, yeah, that's good.
So this is The Mummy. I don't know, Pat. How is The Mummy good? I believe you reported it was not good.
The Mummy is not good. I cannot say it is good. So the big thing about the movie is that they're trying to I heard that they were trying to establish this whole dark universe thing. The whole sequels are yesterday's news. The new thing is shared universes. Obviously the Marvel shared universe, but I've heard they're trying to do this with the Godzilla and King Kong. Like the reason they made King Kong much bigger in the last King Kong is so that he's big enough to fight Godzilla apparently, because he's like enormous in the new movie. I haven't seen it. But
at the end of the last in the post credit scene. This is not really a spoiler, guys. in the post credit scene of Kong, I think they invoke like Mothra and or maybe that's Godzilla. At the post-credit scene of one of them, they show Rodan and
Anyway, so they're trying to do that with these monsters, with like Frankenstein, basically the Monster Mash.
It's kind of interesting.
When they all come together, like the Avengers for this movie will be the Monster Mash movie.
The Universal monsters are almost like the first universe. I'm not super familiar with those movies. That's a great point, but right? That was like one of the first franchises, maybe. I think
like Frankenstein meets Dracula. I'm sure,
and
also Abbott and Costello were in that shared universe a lot.
Abbott and Costello connect them all. I mean, like, I think
like Abbott and Costello meet Frankenstein. You've probably seen more of those movies than I have, but like if Abbott and Costello meet Frankenstein, I think like The Mummy is also in that or something. Like they bring in a lot of different monsters in those movies.
I heard a lot of people complaining, making fun of, criticizing the fact that The Mummy, before the movie starts, and I didn't see the movie, so I just heard this, says like a dark universe tale or something like that. Like there's like
I don't remember that
part of the dark universe.
Well, the Universal logo comes up, and then like. You're going, and then like that after Universal like scrolls across the globe, it like zooms back in, and like the light goes away, and then so it's like a modification. But yeah, there's a specific dark universe bumper.
I like it when a movie plays with the production logo, like Waterworld, when like it's like the Earth logo, and like all the seas rise, and
there's some good ones. There's a whole like supercut of those.
Those are
fun.
fun.
But that one's really
why is this movie bad? Because it looks like a fun, like I like Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise is good, right? Tom Cruise makes fun action movies. This looks like a fun Tom Cruise action movie. What's the problem?
I think the mythos, the mythos world building is really messy, and I really can't remember like why The Mummy was made or what. It wasn't. I didn't find it very fun. The whole action sequences were not great. It was very dark and had that kind of dark muddiness that you can never really see what was going on. That's kind of like an old person complaint, but
no, it's a good action movie complaint because like a good action movie, like it should be clear what's happening. You know?
And I'm totally on board with the female mummy. I want to be clear about that. I have no problem with it whatsoever. But like, it was also just a very the mummy was very un-mummy-like. Like, no bandages in this movie whatsoever. I mean,
like what?
Maybe
makes
I'm too much of a mummy purist to take umbrage with that. The mummy is much more like a sorceress or a wizard or something than a mummy.
That's kind of true of the Brendan Fraser mummies too, though. Right?
Yeah, but at least the first half of that movie, the mummy is like this grotesque skeleton. Then once Imhotep sucks in a couple of souls, then he becomes, which I think is maybe even the original mummy too. I don't really remember.
I don't know. I've never seen like.
I think the Brendan Fraser one was better. It's just a little more fun, a little more like grotesque.
So let me.
It kind of has that like it should be like it should be horrifying, and I just didn't find this horrifying.
I have something I'd like to report about Brendan Fraser. So Brendan Fraser, who I'm a big fan of, on Instagram shared an image. This is pretty salty. The week the movie came out, he did like a Google search for The Mummy, and if you do that, you get like Google like on top of the results will give you the movie reviews or whatever. And he posted a screen cap of that, and it was. Rotten Tomatoes. So this is the new Mummy. Brendan Fraser posting the screen cap. Rotten Tomatoes 20%, Metacritic 35%, Ebert 1.5 stars. That's like what Google gives you when you search. Brendan Fraser's comment on Instagram: "If it ain't broke, don't fix it."
Whoa!
Here's the thing: I looked up the reviews of his last Mummy movie, Tomb of the Dragon Emperor,
which you and I watched, didn't we?
Yeah. Tomb of the Dragon Emperor, 12% on Rotten Tomatoes, 31% on Metacritic. Though actually, and this is not a joke, Ebert gave it 3 stars. He said, "Now why'd I like this movie? It was just plain dumb fun is why. It is also absurd and preposterous and proud." But I guess what I'd say to Brendan Fraser is maybe it was broke.
Yeah.
And also, he didn't invent fucking mummies. Like, his thing was also a remake.
There's a The Wire just did this article about like apparently like the Brendan Fraser Facebook fan page is like very very active with like Brendan, but like it's also everyone's like very nice to each other. But the most recent like controversy was like some people getting really mad and trash talking this new Mummy movie. It's like, and they're like. And other people are like, "Hey man, come on, listen, let's just give it a Brendan." Well, actually, I think some people were like, "Hey man, let's not knock Tom Cruise in the new one." Sorry, I'm going to blow past the gong here.
Becoming custom.
And because that's all Brendan would do. Brendan's a nice guy. Lo and behold, now you're telling me that is pretty salty of him. I'm so glad you did that. That's like the most investigative reporting you've ever done on this podcast. I'm very proud of you. I do want to say, there's one thing I really want to, I don't want to move on from The Mummy. One aspect that I really did, and also, Tom Cruise is fine in it. It's interesting that he did this movie because I think it's the first, it just feels like, it feels beneath him, like not like that I worship Tom Cruise, but just as like he's still a pretty big movie star, and to be like, I don't know, like to tap him seems interesting. But I'm sorry, let me the real thing I want to mention is one aspect I really did like in this movie is Russell Crowe is in it. And spoiler alert, maybe he actually his character is.
I've heard this not from you. Who
Dr. Jekyll and Mr. He's Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. You don't know that when you first meet him, but that becomes like the thing. And there's this one action sequence where he transforms into Mr. Hyde, the bad version of himself, and fights Tom Cruise for a few minutes. That obviously they're world building here. There's just, the whole dark universe gets bigger. That when he transforms to Mr. Hyde. That performance I found really fun and good. Like, he kind of adopts this super Cockney accent, like a British and he's kind of devious, and you could just tell.
So it's
Russell
still
Crowe
Russell Crowe, or does he like become like a monster?
It's still Russell Crowe. He does not become. I mean, it's not. He gets stronger, I think, but he does not like. There's no like CG.
Right.
It's just all his
That's
performance.
Interesting.
I think it's one of the better Russell Crowe performances I've seen in the last couple of years, or the more fun Russell Crowe performances.
Could you recommend it to anyone? I'll tell you, my dad, who has a fairly high tolerance for this garbage, as we're learning over this podcast, my dad was like, "That is not a good movie," and I think that might be the only movie he said that about all summer.
Wow. I don't really know.
Is there anyone who The Mummy is appropriate for?
People who, I don't know. Maybe Brendan Fraser, man. I think Brendan Fraser to just, learn his lesson, to not knock it.
All right, well.
That's a weird answer. I don't know. Brendan Fraser. Go see The Mummy. Just go see The Mummy before you start I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm not saying it's a good movie. But, I just think he could probably be a little humbled.
Well,
you know who wasn't humble?
Who?
The whatever her name was that was the mummy, and she got punished for it.
I'm looking around for like our next thematic jump, and it's going to be pretty tough. I'm thinking maybe franchise starters. Are there any other? Oh, I got one. Here's a franchise starter that might not be starting a franchise.
Okay.
It is Valerian and the City of a Thousand Planets. Just came out this weekend. Pat and I separately went to great lengths to see it before we were able to record this.
We both were very excited to see it.
So yeah,
I can't say about all of these movies.
So this one's pretty recent. This came out July 21st. So maybe not everyone has seen it. Let me start
I saw it less than 24 hours ago.
Start the timer. So this is Valerian and the City of a Thousand Planets. It is a space movie with lots of aliens and spaceships and what have you. Directed by Luc Besson, who directed The Fifth Element, amongst other great movies. The Professional.
Mm-hmm.
Here's how good The Professional is. Before the trailer for Valerian, it was like, from Luc Besson, the director of The Professional. That movie has never been that popular, and it's like 25 years old, and they're still putting it before his movies. That's how good that movie is. Movie. So, this is right up my alley. I always say how I like movies with like robots, aliens, and monsters. This is a triple threat. It's got them all. Yeah. So I've been very excited for this movie. I love The Fifth Element, and I saw it, and it was not that good. It was so this is like actually part of the reason I instituted this recommendation system as opposed to the good or bad, because I kind of enjoyed watching it. Like, it worked for me a little because this is so up my alley. But in no way, shape, or form is this a good movie. It is like clearly not a good movie.
Yeah, it has some pretty unforgivable flaws, but I agree. Like, I saw it with a pretty large crew of friends that we know, some of whom are pretty critical of, have pretty high tastes in movies, and I think we all were on the same page that it's deeply flawed in many ways. But I think everyone came out of it like kind of giddy with excitement because it's just I would call it like a beautiful disaster. Remember the Nathan Rabin rankings? Like, he called what's there's like the movie that's
Fiasco,
Secret Success,
Fiasco, and
Failure, I think.
Yeah,
I think Fiasco. This is a fiasco, which is better than Failure.
Definitely.
I think that interesting to I think the world building in this was unbelievable.
Yeah,
the creature design unbelievable.
Tons of. Did you see
some of the action sequences were amazing, but just some of the more like primal, some of the more subtler
basic
touches.
movie making elements, like say the lead performances and the lead characters.
Those matter. I'm not saying those are not unforgivable mistakes.
So as I keep saying, I love these like robot alien monsters movies, but you gotta like hook it up to something remotely competent. Like Pacific Rim is like not the best movie of all time, but it's got great robots, great monsters, and like the movie's reasonably competent. Like everything's good, and like you know who everyone is and what they want, and like it moves, and there's jokes that are funny. And like, so that competence like carries you through the scenes where like a robot isn't slashing a giant monster in half.
Yeah.
This movie does not have like, it's like whenever the two main characters, Valerian and his girlfriend, who didn't deserve to be in the title for some reason, even though she's probably in the movie more than
he
is.
And the comic it's based on, that character's the name of the comic is actually Valerian, and I can't remember the character's name.
I can't remember her name either.
But like, they just decide to remove that character's name and just make it Valerian, even though they're total co-equal partners.
It's trouble that I can't remember her name because they're like the only two characters that are in the movie for more than 15 minutes, Like
I only know Valerian because it's like in the title, and I kept calling this is such a minor thing to point out, but like I kept calling the city Valerian, and it's not. The city is not called Valerian. The city is called Alpha.
The city was awesome. Like that first 5 minutes was like the best 5 minutes of the movie. Like kind of when they show. It's interesting. The movie has like two prologues that were both great. You got you see how the city is built, and then you see like a look at that idyllic like beach planet.
Mar. It was very like sea punky, and everyone had like seashell backpacks. Very cool.
And that's cool. And like then you meet Valerian and Lorelei, I think.
Yeah.
And then the movie, like, man, it is tough. Like, I was unclear. Like, he proposes marriage to her like early on in the movie, and I was like, are they coworkers? Is he their boss? Have they been dating? Like, I could not read from their performances in the script like what their basic relationship was. Like, that's a huge problem for the movie.
I also feel like they couldn't it's not entirely like either of their fault. I mean, Dane DeHaan is actually a great actor. He's in some other, but he's just very weirdly cast in this because every one of his roles are like, he plays like dark, brooding kind of teens, everything before this. He did that movie, Chronicle.
Yeah,
like that's like the lighter end of his spectrum. And I'm not saying, obviously I understand as an actor you want to try new stuff, but like it was just miscasting, I think. However, I think this in the script they couldn't decide. They should have made harder choices. They were like, okay, he's a military man and like a really disciplined genius soldier, but also we want to make him like a kind of rebel pirate. They want it to be like Han Solo and like a SEAL Team 6 member, and those things are not compatible, and I don't know. It really had they really were trying to make it like a Star Wars Han Solo type thing.
So an interesting thing about it, Valerian and Lorelei, the French graphic novel, total pop culture blind spot for me. I'd never heard of it. And you've listened to this podcast enough. You probably know I'm pretty good at at least being aware of this stuff. I never heard of it. It's been running since the 60s. And I can see looking at the art that I think it not only predates Star Wars, but I think it's probably, I'm speculating, like one of the things that influences it. Because it does feel pretty Star Wars-y in that it's like this crazy future world. But everything's like very lived in and like kind of dilapidated and broken. It's like the future world, but like no one's built anything new for like a few hundred years or whatever. So
I think the movie has elements of that. I think the whole Alpha, that city is just. I would love to just know. I would definitely love to take a tour of Alpha.
Totally. I mean, you get to for like 30 seconds at a time when they're running through it, and it's always fun. So I would recommend this movie to, if you're like me and you like robots, monsters, and aliens, I think you could enjoy Valerian. It's way too long, and it's like just not a good movie. It just is not a good movie. But it's one of those, this is like a pretty common thing people say about summer movies, I feel like, is that like, oh, it looks great and the visual spectacle is there, but like the story's not there or whatever. And that's like a pretty common complaint about summer movies. I don't think I invoke that often, but this movie is the most that I've seen in a long time.
Yeah, and like the visual is like calling the visuals impressive and like Transformers is just like, they're just technically like, yeah, there's a lot of money. This is like, there's a lot of money, but also a lot of art. And
we always talk in this podcast when we do these about like movies that like you feel like your ticket comes with like a free copy of like the hardcover coffee table book of the art, and this is one of those for sure.
Also, I would recommend this to most people, even though despite the many flaws that we've noted, just because of all that. I mean, just see it in theaters, just because that's
I saw it in 3D though, and I regretted that. It was not very good in 3D.
But also, and I think it's very important. I respect that. Even that is. There are so few original sci-fi movies that come out in the summer with this kind of money behind them, and obviously this is based on a French comic book. But ostensibly, I would call it an original film. It's no one went to this movie just because of the comic. I think not like unlike a sequel or Fast and the Furious sequel of Transformers. And I like it. When I remember a couple of years ago when Edge of Tomorrow came out, which is a great movie, the Tom Cruise thing, also based on an obscure novel, but basically an original film
too. I think it's Japanese.
And I think Kumail Nanjiani had a great tweet about if you complain about no original sci-fi movies in the summer or no original movies during the summer, and you don't see this movie, like you don't have a right to complain, because this is it.
Valerian or the other one?
Edge of Tomorrow. That is a better movie than this movie, obviously, but like I think they both have there's a lot of originality in both of them.
Edge of Tomorrow, like if you took out all this spectacular action scenes, would still be very funny and very good.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
It's just a great movie. All right, well, you mentioned Kumail. That sets up our nice next transition pretty easily. The Big Sick. Mm-hmm.
I have the same exact critique with Valerian, actually. I think the world building, the alien creature design was unbelievable.
Yeah, so The Big Sick.
I love this movie.
This was good. Kumail and Emily, so this is a movie by Kumail Nanjiani and Emily Gordon, who we've both been friendly with for years. They were on our show in College Humor. They've been on they've been on this podcast. We've both been on their podcast.
Nice,
they're
great
the nicest people in the world, as everyone in the comedy community will tell you. And they made a movie, and the movie is great. And it's funny because Kumail and Emily are so well liked. Like, it took a few good reviews before I started believing, like, oh man, this is probably going to be real. I think they really delivered.
Yeah.
Just because like no one was going to.
Well, they have such a reservoir of goodwill.
Yeah,
of course,
yeah. It's funny, like you can see the kind of movies I usually see by listening to this podcast, and like halfway through this movie, I was like, wow, there's like no robots or aliens at all. Like you just got to write and act in this kind of movie, you know?
Probably another good parent recommendation.
Yeah,
I would say.
My mom, but it's funny. My mom, and this is one thing that's so exciting about this movie is that like. I think it's like totally broken through. It's like I think it's much bigger than anyone thought it was going to be, and like it's really landed. And like,
I want to give
a
special shout out. Not that like he's really going to appreciate this, but I'm kidding. Well, but no, I want to seriously give a shout out to Ray Romano's, like specifically cite Ray Romano's performance, which I thought was all the performances are good, but his in particular I thought was just so funny and and also like he just doesn't. You don't see him as much. He doesn't act that much. He's not in as many movies as like even Holly Hunter or something like that. I feel like he sort of took a maybe leave of some kind or was more focusing on stand up. Whatever the reason, I don't know if I've ever seen him in a feature film before, and it was great. He just was so funny and so like I think he had some of the he's in a movie filled with like some of the best comedians working, and I guess including himself.
Yeah.
But he just was nailing it.
Yeah, and
I also got to go. The movie did like a tour, like a stand-up tour to promote the film with Kumail, obviously, but also with A.D. Bryant and some of all the Kurt Braunohler, all these other comedians who were in the movie, and Ray Romano. And I was like, oh, I have never seen him do stand-up before. I was a little too young when he was like doing the stand-up stuff like all the time, like before Everybody Loves Raymond. So I was like, oh, that's a good like bucket list stand-up to see. Like I didn't think it was going to be bad, but I was also kind of like, it doesn't matter. I just kind of want to see him, and I was like blown away. He was so funny. Still like just sharp, and all of his material was great. And anyway, I'm sorry, I'm just gushing about Ray Romano a lot, but I really liked him in the movie.
Something I liked about the movie was I found it, and I suspect I'm not alone on this, like very relatable, even though I'm not Pakistani and was not dating a girl who went into a coma. Like there's nothing about the specific situation that is relatable to my life. But I think in the relationships between both sets of parents that there's a lot that almost anyone can find there that they can relate to. And I thought that's probably the reason the movie's resonating. Like, I think there are people for whom this will be their favorite movie of all time. Like there are people like I thought it was great. Everyone thinks it's great. It's got like 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. Mm-hmm. But I think there are people like who this movie will really connect with, and like it will be like an all timer for them. And I think that's cool.
And I haven't. It's been a while. I'm sure I'm sorry, and I'm omitting a couple of really good examples from recent memory. But like the last romantic comedy that was just like just a sort of, normal in the sense that it's not like a sci-fi crossover or something, like just romantic comedy, or even just kind of, I don't know, like an adult comedy that's not like a sci-fi parody or something. I just thought I just haven't seen a movie quite like this genre done this well in a while.
It also doesn't have, we know Kumail, but it doesn't have, I think if you listen to the show, you know Kumail from Silicon Valley and his comedy and his podcast and like all that. Like, people know who Kumail is. But it doesn't have like a world famous personality to trade on in the way that like George Clooney does. Like when George Clooney shows up in a movie, you're like, I know what this character's like. He's like George Clooney. Or like when Chris Pratt shows up, like they kind of bring their own personality into it a little, and like it does some of the work for you. But in this movie, like you don't know who Kumail is, you don't know who Emily is, and like so it feels a little fresher in that way. Like they're not. Well, now they're movie stars, but when you start watching, like Kumail's now a movie star, but when you started watching the movie, he's not a movie star, and I thought that made it cool. I want to see a sequel. Here's my idea for a sequel. Yeah. The Kumail and Emily in the movie make The Big Sick. Yeah, it's like they're making the first movie. That's the movie I want to see.
You got it recorded here. You got it on lock.
Yeah. So the thing I started saying earlier is that it's cool. The other thing that's cool about this movie is like I think you and I and our friends and many of these listeners, we're always going to see it because we love Kumail. But it's really broken through to the mainstream, and I was surprised and delighted that my mom, who does not go see Baby Driver with my father, my mom was like, hey, all my friends heard about this movie, tell me about the movie, The Big Sick. Is this good? Should I go see The Big Sick? And I was like, yeah, it's really, and I told her she should see it. And I don't think she's seen it yet, but like she will, and it's cool. Like it like reached, I always give my mom, whom I love, you guys may remember episode 100, but I always use my mom as like, if my mom is talking about it, is like broken through to another level of pop cultural awareness.
Well, I think that means, we're like weird, damaged people who just see every single movie and care way too much about this stuff. If your parents like it, that means like it's just broken through to like them. I don't know. It means so much more to me if just my parents are touched by a movie than because I don't know. I'm an emotional sponge and. Right. I'm very easily affected by these things. My dad, I think it needs to be a certain level of goodness too. It's also a movie also really incredible that it's a summer release and is probably one of the more talked about summer movies, which is, there's a lot of noise in the summer.
I feel like it might be the hit indie movie of the summer, maybe?
Probably.
So
Valerian's technically an indie movie, Jeff. It's a $200 million indie movie.
So this is an easy one. I would recommend it basically to anyone. It's not for kids, not because it's like dirty or anything, just because they think it's boring.
Yeah.
Because there's no monsters or anything. But like, if you're a grown up and have feelings, I think you would enjoy The Big Sick.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
It's really for everyone.
Even like a cool teen, I could see it being like a cool, like smart, edgy teen. I could see them really liking.
Yeah. Just like it's not a family movie, I would say, but like virtually anyone who is like an adult and experienced emotions would enjoy it.
Agreed.
So actually I want to pause the movies here briefly. I just mentioned the 100th episode of this podcast that I did with my mother. This is actually episode 199 of this podcast.
Whoa.
If you look at the podcast feed, there's a few more than that because we've done some other special things over the years, but by my count, this is episode 199. Which means next week is episode 200. And back when I did the 5-year anniversary special a year and a half ago, maybe a year ago, I was like, I'm not going to do anything for this 200th episode. That's still mostly true. But what I am going to do, and what I'm going to take a moment to hype right here, is the 200th episode coming out in 2 weeks is going to be something I've never done, which is a clip show. I'm going to do like some of my favorite interviews and some of my favorite questions and answers from some of my favorite interviews. So like a few minutes from some of my favorite episodes from over the past few years. And the reason I'm bringing this up is not only so you'll hopefully be excited and listen to it, but also because I'd love to hear from you guys some of your favorite moments from the show over the years, some of your favorite guests over the years. If you want to tweet me or Facebook message me or email me, my email address is at
right, some of your favorite guests, like could be anyone. Suggest anyone you want. Could be like, I don't know, just someone who's known Jeff for like forever, and I don't know. Just saying. Just throwing it out there.
Well, yeah, whatever, so I think it's going to be more question and answer based because that's like a little easier to excerpt. So I don't know that you'll be hearing Pat, even though he's been on, on at least 2 or 3 episodes a year.
Hey, you could ask me some questions, and we're doing this episode. This could qualify. Ask me some questions. I'll be on there.
So that's in 2 weeks, episode 200 of the Jeff Rubin Show. And I'd love if you would be a part of it by sending me suggestions for things you want to hear and you think other people should hear when we do it. Okay, moving on. The other kind of indie movie that got some notice this summer that both of us saw, I believe separately, was It Comes at Night.
Oh, yeah.
It Comes at Night. This is a movie that I don't know that everyone is familiar with. You want to maybe set up what this is, Pat?
Yeah, it is a, I guess, ostensibly like a sci-fi thriller, but a very grounded sci-fi thriller.
Mostly thriller.
Yeah, mostly thriller.
With
set during a... It's funny because everyone thought it was like a monster movie when it was coming out, but basically...
The marketing was very misleading.
Is this is a spoiler to say what it actually is about?
No,
I don't think so, because it's the plot of the movie.
It's the premise, yeah.
It is set, I guess, amid some kind of loosely defined viral epidemic, and it's in this one household with a mother and father and son, and it's about the family kind of trying to protect each other in this like bunker down in this one household, and then another family kind of gets involved and they sort of peacefully coexist, but then things kind of get weird, and that's kind of all I'll say specifically. I mean, I'm sure we could talk about it, but yeah, that's kind of it. It's sort of just like a gritty, I'm trying to think of a good comparison, but it's sort of a gritty thriller about a virus.
The Dissolve, my lamented lost website that used to do movie reviews, they have a podcast, and on that podcast they talk about a recent release and compare it to an old release. I really enjoy it. It's called Your Next Picture Show, or The Next Picture Show, or something like that. I can't remember what it's called. The Last Picture? God, I should know what it's called. Anyway, they did an episode about It Comes at Night, and the movie they compared it to for like over the length of an entire episode was The Thing. John Carpenter, specifically The Thing.
Oh, that's cool.
Though that is a little misleading because it has sort of that paranoia and tension of The Thing, but The Thing also has like the crazy monster effects. Like that is nowhere near. And the reason that's a little...
The Thing had like no special effects or no actual monsters and just the virus. It'd be like that. Yeah.
Right. So the reason I keep harping on that there's no monsters is because and I said this already, but the marketing was extremely misleading. Like the trailer makes it look like a monster movie.
Even the name.
The title makes it sound like a monster movie, and it straight up is not. And I actually did not this was not, like, minute to minute, I was enjoying it. Like, I was in it. I felt tense and, like, at the edge of my seat for a lot of it. But then at the end, I kind of was like, what, like, it's obviously well-written, well-directed, well-acted. It's, like, good. Like, they checks all the boxes. And yet at the end, I was like, why, of all the movies you could make, like, why did they make this? Like, what is this about? Like, what was I supposed to take away from this? Like, I didn't really... I found at the end it left me a little wanting. It's like
I hear. I probably liked it. I probably am on the other end. I think I liked it.
Yeah,
I lean toward. I liked it. It is. It's definitely. I mean, it could. It's also just straight very depressing. Like you don't have to explain why you didn't love it.
Right.
Like it's you walk out and it's like you are not in a good mood.
I think. Yeah.
Which is I think its intention.
I wonder if that marketing just set my expectations wrong, and then when I that spoiled my experience a little bit. I think that's a part of it.
Is this the same director who made
I don't know the answer, but
Midnight Special, and I think it might be because Joel Edgerton is kind of his like guy. He did or maybe there was also a movie called
his name is
Take Shelter.
Trey Edward Schultz and he directed It Comes at Night and Krisha, which I've heard is quite good.
That's it?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm mistaken. It's funny, though. There's this director, Joel Egerton, was also in this movie called Midnight Special, and there's one director whose name escapes me, but the Midnight Special was kind of a little mini hit, or where, indie kind of thing. But it's the same kind of genre. There's like this genre of like indie genre films, indie sci-fi films, I think, that have like, even like, Safety Not Guaranteed, and those directors went on to direct some other bigger stuff. But like, I don't know, it's kind of a soft spot. I like those kinds of movies, so I have a soft spot for it already, even though this is a different director, but it kind of just felt like that. I love Joel Egerton. I don't know, I just like seeing how people would like wait out viral epidemics. It's so specific.
Yeah.
But no, it's totally... And also, it had a lot of artistry to it, too. Like, there was some friggin' weirdness in it.
Yeah. It's like... This is another one that was in my mind when I came with this recommendation system, because like it's clearly a well-made movie.
Yeah.
Like I think the performances are all great. I think Joel Edgerton's great. The guy who I thought was Kit Harington the whole movie was great, and the
Kit Harington was in it? You thought the husband?
The husband, yeah, the non-Joel Edgerton husband was Kit Harington.
Oh, interesting.
And then I watched.
It was not him, but you thought it was him.
I thought it was him, and then I watched the tennis Andy Samberg movie that Kit Harington is in, like that weekend, and I thought Kit Harington was the guy I saw in the movie and not Kit Harington.
Oh my goodness!
I'm having a lot of trouble with those two.
I gotta see if side by side. I don't remember.
No one has. I've mentioned this to a few people, and everyone's like, "Yeah, you're crazy. They look nothing alike." So that might be just me. I might have some
Game of Thrones is very confusing
blindness
for you.
But yeah. Oh, and I want to say the kid. I thought the kid was a really good actor too. Who I don't know who, like just sort of some
totally.
He carries a lot of weight in the movie.
There were certain there were certain avenues it did not go down that I was kind of a little disappointed. But that's the movie, I guess. But for example, I was on board. Okay, this is not a monster movie. I'm totally fine with that. As I say, every movie that's not a monster movie, within 20 minutes, I have to tell myself that.
Yeah.
Even The Big Sick, I was like, this is not a monster movie. That's fine. But there was this thing in the middle, like maybe a third, halfway through the movie, or a third when the two families were living together, they kind of established that maybe there's going to be some sort of sexual tension in the household. And that I was like, okay, that just was so unexpected, and it seemed like so plausible in that kind of scenario. And I was like, this is great. I want to see this like domestic kind of drama play out. And it kind of goes into more traditional viral epidemic, movie ways. So yeah, here's what I'll say. I really did think this movie. I did like this movie. However, I cannot think of a single person I would recommend it to. There's
definitely people who like this. Like, it's a well-liked movie, and someone likes it. I'm not sure why. I actually think it's for people who actually... Okay, what were you guys...
Another movie it kind of reminds me of, even though, again, their plots are very different, is The Witch, which I really like.
Oh, yeah, it reminds me a lot of The Witch, which I did not like.
You didn't like The Witch?
I did not like The Witch.
Oh, man, I think The Witch was dope. But anyway... But, like, they're both set in... They're both kind of, like, isolated households, a lot of tension in the household.
They're kind of like mumblecore horror movies in a way.
Oh, you've come up with a much better description than I've been mumbling about.
Yeah, well... Yeah, they're both a little like... They're horror movies, but they don't have, like, the traditional thrills of a horror movie, I would say. It's more about the dread.
Dread is a great... Yeah, Dread is very... It's sort of that... You know what it is? It's almost like that movie... I'm never thinking more... What's that genre that Guillermo del Toro did an homage to? Like
Victorian horror?
Yeah.
What is that movie? I can never remember what that movie's called.
Crimson something.
Crimson Peak.
Crimson Peak. I remember in the rollout to that, Guillermo del Toro was talking about, this is there's a specific name, like a romantic horror that is a little less about ghouls and goblins and, more about the dread. It's like Edgar Allan Poe type stuff. Anyway, I was an English major, and I don't know any of this crap, so I wasted my money.
Let's move on to another movie about a viral outbreak. This one is War for the Planet of the Apes. It was released July 14th.
This is good. I have thoughts about this one. This is exciting.
What are your thoughts?
So, I think I liked it a little bit less than most people. I know it has very high, good reviews, but I was a little disappointed. I don't need to set what the movie's. Everyone knows what this movie's about, right? I think the name is a misnomer. Maybe that's the theme. There's no war in this movie. It's like a prison escape movie. Granted, it's a prison escape movie starring a bunch of chimpanzees, which is kind of awesome. But I think one of my favorite themes of the Planet of the Apes franchise, and going back to the original one, is this sort of like global kind of scale of it. Even when it's just about a couple of characters trying to escape or whatever, there's always this sense of like, and I feel like in these prequels especially, they've really been moving towards a sort of global war, and this movie I just think didn't really have that much of that until there's some stuff at the end, but it felt very like kind of forced. To me, it was just like The Great Escape, but with chimps.
I liked it. I liked it less than the other Planet of the Apes movies, which is not a problem. I love the other Planet of the Apes movies. I'm talking of the modern trilogy. I'm not extraordinarily familiar with the old ones. So I liked all the new ones. I liked this one. I probably liked it a little less than the others. I think some of that is like the thematic stuff. Like, I don't know. Like, I guess it's a little spoiled. I don't want to get into. I won't say it. I'm debating, but it feels a little spoilery. I'll just say thematically, it didn't resonate with me as much. But I made some notes as I did for all these movies, and my notes for this movie, I was like, here's what I wrote. Is this the best trilogy of summer movies ever? And then I wrote, is Caesar the best character ever? And then I wrote, are these the best effects ever? And I think you can make a pretty strong case for all those questions. And I was like, damn, these Planet of the Apes movies are fucking good. Like, even though this one I didn't like it quite as much, it's good. It's very good. And the three of them together, and I think it's the three of them together are a little more than the sum of their parts. Like, as on its own, I would say, even though I wasn't maybe over the moon about it, but I thought it was a great piece of this trilogy that we've been watching. Like, it didn't let me down, I would say, and I love those other two.
Yeah, me neither. I think I went into it with just a very certain set of very large expectations and a certain set of. I think I was just expecting a war movie, and I got something slightly different, which is like. Just because I'm not even being sarcastic here. Just because the word war was in the title didn't necessarily mean I should have expected, like, Saving Private Ryan with chimpanzees. But as I say that, come on, wouldn't that be awesome? So, that's the second one, I guess, had more of that than this one, to be honest.
Can I put those questions to you, though? Like, can you think of a trilogy of, like, big special effects movies that are all as, like,
in the summer?
Where the average of quality?
The original Star Wars trilogy, obviously.
Yeah. Well, all right. What about in the past, like, 25 years?
Yeah.
Like, the average quality is as high as it is over these Planet of the Apes movies?
That's a good question. I mean, not off the top of my head, especially if only because most trilogies are just sort of like a movie and then it's two sequels. This one feels more coherent, which is good.
Yeah,
I'm drawing
all three of them are different too, which is cool. One is different than two, is different than three, which I liked a lot.
I mean, what's amazing, the special effects, I would say, almost certainly, yeah,
because they're maybe not the most. I mean,
it's incredible.
How do you rank is this is more impressive than Optimus Prime destroying a building? Like, they all look good and realistic or whatever. But here they're used effectively. Like the apes can make you feel something and cry, which Optimus Prime can definitely not do.
Hey, speak for yourself, man. The scene when he sacrifices himself to save Bumblebee in Part 3 is just or when he meets Buzz Aldrin. Oh.
So
I teared up.
You don't know. You don't think of them as special effects as you're watching the movie. It's only after the movie.
I also just thought of Optimus Prime crying. It's what windshield wiper fluid coming out. Sorry,
a little wiper on his eye.
That's adorable. And this was the first time, and I think I was being a bit of since the first one, since the James Franco, what's the first one called? Whatever it's called.
Rise of
the Planet of the Apes. Since that movie, I think immediately there was a lot of chatter on the internet and just stuff should Andy Serkis qualify for an Oscar for that performance? Since it's a great performance, but it's also revolves around mocap, yada yada yada. I think I was sort of curmudgeonly purist, and I was like, no, obviously he's amazing, but it's still not the same as an act. And I think parts of that true, but this one I think I kind of came around, and I'm like, it's so good and so obviously Andy Serkis is a part of it. I would say if he doesn't get. They don't want to let him qualify for Best Actor, then he should be part of the special effects team and get that Oscar.
Right.
Because if he's certainly part of the special effects team, he's as important as any programmer,
Yeah, I mean, I think Caesar, like I said, Caesar might be one of the best, strongest characters in certainly in these summer movies.
Yeah. And you must be happy because I think last summer, or whenever we discussed the last movie, I think you cited as the best performance of the summer was Koba.
Yeah, that's true.
And Koba kind of comes back in this a little bit.
Just a little
bit. It's in a very unique way, but he's definitely in it. And the Koba mythos is looms strong in this movie.
I mean, all of them are. Maurice, who is I guess I don't know what kind of monkey he's in. It's funny, only watching them over. I've watched them all twice now, except this new one. I watched the first two twice, I guess. And you see that some of the side monkeys that you don't pay attention to the first time, are in the whole thing, like Rocket and Maurice. And now I know all their names. And
which is it's incredible. You know the name of Maurice more than some of the characters from some of the other movies.
Lorelai took us a while to get to, right? Maurice is a great character. Caesar's such a good character. When you think about what happens to Caesar over the three movies, it's all of a piece. You can see it's not like, oh, now he's a war hero or like whatever. Like you can see the evolution. It's like very logical and it's very epic. Like if you think of his arc, it's quite grand and it's really it's great. So I would recommend this movie. I would recommend this movie to anyone who enjoyed and watched the first two, and I recommend most people watch the first two. So I guess I didn't love this one on its own, but I did like it as a completion of this trilogy that I really enjoy.
I mean, there's a certain. I think when I watched that movie, again, I'm praising the movie here. There are moments in that movie where it's almost like you kind of have this like self-actualization. Like it happens once or twice every time I watch one of these movies. Any three of them is like. You're like, I can't believe what I'm watching right now. It's like it sounds so ridiculous, and they make it work so well. Like, I'm seeing a bunch of like very like authentic looking, apes, not just straight up apes, riding horses and firing machine guns, etc. And it really shouldn't work. And it's such a testament that that it does.
Yeah.
That's just good, I guess. Special effects, good writing, good whatever, good directing.
I hope they keep making these movies.
And I did like it. I think I just was. I do really love some of the more like apocalyptic. Like even though the first 5 Planet of the Apes movies are all about like nuclear war is a big theme in those movies, and that's just something I really like. And it doesn't have to address those things all the time, and it's totally fine. It's
nothing how like viruses and like bioterrorism. It's not terrorism; it's an accident in this trilogy, but that sort of replaced the nuclear war. Are there plans for a fourth one, as far as you know? I don't know. Oh. I hope there are. Okay, maybe next we should talk about. There's only one movie on this list that we were like we should talk about, even though neither of us saw it. It is Transformers: The Last Night. We thought we'd spend 5 minutes on a movie we didn't see.
I think because it is Transformers, it has like it's sort of the unofficial third guest of this podcast series.
I mean,
it's come up in every summer. I think
we have such low standards for movies. I saw fucking Valerian opening weekend, and I was planning on it all summer,
and we just said a lot of good things about it.
So like, I got low standards. But I was just like, I'm not going to see this Transformers movie. Maybe it's worth mentioning, like, the big movies that we didn't see this summer are Transformers, King Arthur, which no one saw, but like, just in terms of movies we could be talking about here.
Guy Ritchie's
Baywatch, and then the other big one is probably Pirates of the Caribbean, which we were just like, there was one afternoon.
Also on its 5th installment, like Transformers.
There was one afternoon where I had time and I was like, oh, I could go see Pirates, and I was just like, no.
Yeah, similarly, when I saw The Mummy, I had to go to the DMV, and after I was in Midtown, I got out of the DMV, and I just had like more time. It was much quicker than I thought, because I blocked off like basically my entire afternoon because it's the fucking DMV. And I was like, I'm just going to go to this movie theater and see whatever like the next movie that's playing that I haven't seen is. Like I do that sometimes. And I was kind of secretly hoping it'd be Pirates 5, because I'm slightly interested in that movie.
Like, there's Pirates 1 is great, and like the Pirates movies are better than the Transformers movies for sure. The problem I don't know if Pirates 5 is better than Transformers 5. That's not a battle I'm interested in adjudicating, but
I think one issue is that like one reason that we can't even it's hard to enjoy these even as like a lark is because, and I haven't looked up the actual stats here, but I would bet you that both Pirates 5 and Transformers 5 are like almost 3 hours each.
Yeah.
And that's just something that I think is like unforgivable.
The other thing that occurred to me when I was thinking about Transformers, like if I was just going to watch Megatron like level a city, I could get behind that. Yeah. I can turn my brain off and enjoy that. But then I remembered that the Transformers movies also have this terrible fucking obsession with being funny. And they're so unfunny.
Yeah.
Remember the scene in the first one where I can't believe there's a scene in the Transformers movies. Shia LaBeouf's mom or someone accidentally eats pot brownies at like a college party.
Yeah.
And there's like a freak out scene. And then I remember in the third one, and I bet we discussed this on the podcast when we saw the third one a few years ago. I mean, we're 2 movies later, so this must have been a few years ago already. In the third one, there's a scene where Shia LaBeouf is looking for jobs for some reason.
Yeah.
And like, he's going like on all these job interviews, and there's like a montage of all the job interviews, and they're all going poorly, and it's like all comedy. It's just like it's pure comedy. Like it's just like a goofy montage. And I remember watching it in a crowded theater, and it was just like stone cold fucking silence. Like it was just like the crowd was not receptive to it even a little bit.
It's funny too because you watch those scenes, and it's supposed to be like he's just not a comedy director because like he's doing these like goofy scenes, but like it's shot like every other shot in the movie. Like these like. It's like that epic Michael Bay style of shooting. Like, even when he's, like, in the office, it's like the windows are all blown out with light, and it's all, like, filtered with, like, green and orange and stuff like that. Like, I have a very vivid memory of that Sam Witwicky failed. There's also, you know what's funny though?
Did you see Transformers 4? I didn't see 4 either.
I think 3 might have been I think the last one I saw was the one with that's The Last Night, right?
2? Yeah. No. This one was The Last Night. I don't remember what the last one was called. I think 1, 2, and 3 are just 1, 2, and 3. 2 is one of the worst effect movies, summer movies I've ever seen.
You know what's funny though? I did recently. I don't know why.
I guess what I'm learning here is I have my limits. I thought 2 was the worst movie ever. I still saw 3, but then I was done. I
don't know whether someone retweeted it or why. Maybe I found myself on the Transformers Twitter account, which is bizarre, or maybe whatever it was. I was on this Twitter account, and the official Transformers movie Twitter account posted it was Happy Sam Witwicky Day, and I'm like, what the fuck is Sam Witwicky Day? And in the first movie, this is going back to the first movie. You've probably forgotten the Witwicky mythos. Sam Witwicky's, Shia LaBeouf's great grandfather discovered the original Allspark or something like that. And there's the date is it's engraved on a brass watch or something. That date is somehow important. And that date is oh, this is the date that Sam Witwicky's great grandfather found the Allspark or something. Which is that's so no, I have to say I almost respect their that 10 years, 5 movies later, they actually still care about the mythos of Sam Witwicky.
I heard they're spinning off Bumblebee into a movie.
I've heard that too, yeah.
Which is so insane to me because they're so not characters, I would rather watch Rocket the Monkey from Planet of the Apes. We were just saying how those effects really become characters that you relate with and connect with. Bumblebee is not that. They are all just giant car robots, completely interchangeable from one another.
Yeah. Another thing I want to say of the new movie
is Bumblebee the first time someone has spun off? I like how we don't even acknowledge that we're blowing through the gong now. Is Bumblebee the first time someone has spun off a special effect?
a character that's not even
a
real.
Person, but he's
I mean, cartoons have spin-offs, but I don't know if you're talking about in a non-animated film.
Yeah,
there's the Minions spin-off or whatever.
It reminds me of I've never understood. I'm going to go on a rant for a moment here. How Launchpad McQuack from DuckTales was also on Darkwing Duck, and in reading about it, apparently they were developing a Launchpad McQuack spin-off, and then it didn't go anywhere. But then they were oh, we'll plug him into Darkwing Duck. And I was he's not an actor. You don't have him under contract, right?
Yeah, I just want to say, you can't see this, but when Jeff said it didn't go anywhere, there was I couldn't help but notice some seething anger. Couldn't go anywhere because those dumb fucks at Disney.
No, it's just funny to treat Launchpad like he's a real person. It's all right, well, we've got to use him somehow.
Yeah. I mean, and
Launchpad is a better character, by the way, than Bumblebee and Transformers.
If they are going to continue doing Transformers movies, I do understand. I would think that they do need to prune. They need to strip away so much because the movies have gotten very messy with like this weird mythology, and like I believe the ending of the new Transformers, I think I read that the ending because like it was notably insane even for those movies. I think like, can I spoil this one?
I know where you're going with this. I think it's allowed.
First of all, the entire Earth is a Transformer.
Oh, I did not know that.
I think that's part of the plot of the third one. Our Earth is a Transformer.
Okay.
That's kind of all I remember. But then there's also something with like the bad the woman is like the woman who invented, I don't remember. Do you remember what was the other part?
The main thing is the Earth. I thought you were going to say that Harriet Tubman helped the Transformers, which is the main thing I heard.
That's right. I was also at work. We were talking about this, the Harriet Tubman thing, which is obviously probably, you know, not the. I love retconning history, but I don't think Transformers is the best vessel to approach the history of slavery. I am waiting for like, I guarantee like in a couple of years, some like fourth grader in like Black History Month is going to like ask if you could watch Transformers 5 and if that will satisfy the requirements.
Well, let's keep moving with this history theme, rewriting history. I want to talk about the biggest movie of the summer, at least in the U.S., I believe, which was Wonder Woman. Which you did not see. Is that right?
I'm embarrassed to say. I've heard it's great.
You know what's funny is I see all these superhero movies like generally opening weekend, and I couldn't see Wonder Woman opening weekend because I was traveling, and like I was just like hearing about it for a week, and I felt like a real misogynist asshole, like having not seen Wonder Woman just because I'm so diligent about seeing even the worst movie, and like I hadn't seen that one. So
I'm less diligent about seeing all there's a lot of comic movies I haven't seen, so it's more of just my general not being a disciplined comic book movie viewer.
I mean, the main thing I thought when I left this movie was just how fucking stupid Marvel sounds, and like just like the past 10 years of conversation about like, oh, could there be a female superhero movie? Like, should there be one? Like, will people see it? Like, just like however long that conversation's been going, probably, let's say, I mean, much longer than 10 years, but certainly since like Marvel's been a thing. It just like, it made it look. I'm not saying it was easy. Like, I think it's a well-made movie and they make it look easy. But it's just like it made the whole conversation look so stupid.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
Obviously, it's like it's good. It's like it's clearly good. Like it.
I mean, it's so. I mean, again, having not seen it, but just based on the reaction, it seems to have been so good that like. It overcame the like DC universe curse. Like you have to be such a good movie to like break out of how bad all of those previous DC movies have been. Like has there been another one that's not bad?
No.
Obviously not including the Chris Nolan ones.
Yeah, those are different. There was a great headline on Reductress, which is a great website.
So it really had an uphill battle, and
yeah.
still so it's really impressive that it managed to be so great.
Reductress, which is the great like kind of feminism themed oniony site. I had one of the editors on the podcast a few months ago, a year ago maybe. They had a great headline after this movie came out, and it was like, "Hooray! Wonder Woman is good, and women are allowed to keep being superheroes." Or like women are allowed to keep making movies. So it's like the idea that if this wasn't good, which it was, but if it wasn't good, like then like we would have been like, oh. See, doesn't work. You know? Like,
meanwhile, you can have like 7 bad Batman or 7 bad, Justice League movies, and no one gives a shit.
It's funny. This was good. I still think Justice League looks bad, even though, but like this was like sort of the win. DC.
She's going to be in Justice League, right?
Yeah. And it's fun. It's like definitely gives some balance to Justice League. Like now, I was kind of I got to admit, I was thinking about not seeing Justice League just because I've so thoroughly unenjoyed the DC movies thus far. But now I'm going to go see it.
What makes it? Actually, it's a good question. Because it's still in the DC universe.
Yeah.
It's like,
What makes it
I'm
good?
sure it's some of the same producers and stuff. What makes it good? What does it have that Suicide Squad?
It's funny.
Batman and Robin, or Batman vs Superman does not have. Does it do that other one doesn't do?
A lot of these DC movies are like the Marvel movies are very fun and funny and light on their feet, like really light on their feet. Like they're so easy to watch. These DC movies, on the other hand, are like. Very like concerned about like responsibility and like these like there's like these gods and like they're trying to fit into humanity. Like they're just less fun. But this one was really fun in large part because Gal Gadot is so good, and she's been on this mysterious island her whole life, and then she like enters World War I. And so she's kind of like a fish out of water, and they get a lot of
like Thor. The first Thor has some of that, which is great.
Yeah. But it's a little different, and it's good. Like the comedy's never that like. Oh, look how dumb she is. Like, she doesn't know what a car is or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, she's not the butt of the joke. Like, the joke is almost that, like... The joke's actually on humanity, Like, the joke is that, like, she's pointing out all of the, like, dumb things that... Or, like, she's, like... she's seeing us for the first time.
Sure.
And it's funny, and there's good jokes. There's a lot of fun stuff, like, she sees ice cream for the first time. She's, like, a baby for the first time, and, like, these are, like, nice, fun moments. And it's just, like, fun. It's actually fun, which is, like, the main thing, I guess, you want out of these movies. And,
absolutely, yeah.
And just because there hasn't been one starring a woman for whatever stupid reason, they get a lot out of that, Like, it makes it a lot fresher than, like, Spider-Man even, which I also thought was good and we can talk about in a minute. But, like, I don't know, that gives it, like, there's so many superhero movies now, like... having a female protagonist is like a pretty good way to like be different than the 1,000 other superhero movies we've all seen.
I love the
past 10
director,
years.
Patty Jenkins made Monster. I think that's her last movie, right? I don't think she's made. Maybe she's directed television, but I haven't. But I loved Monster, and I definitely think that. I was going to say like I think that's such a. I think taking a slight risk or hiring just in the sense that someone who hasn't done like a multi-million-dollar movie like this before. But then they hired the Suicide Squad director is a good director, right? Like it's not always having a great director doesn't always, but I do think that matters. That can matter a lot. Like some of the like getting John I'm trying to think of a good example, but like I don't know, experimenting with different directors I think could be really fun sometimes, and I'm glad they did that because I love her. It was going to be Michelle McLaren, remember? That would have been awesome.
Suicide Squad has a lot going on where like they want the Joker's in it for like no good reason other than the Joker's popular, and like Batman's in it just because like they're trying to build this universe. Whereas like Wonder Woman is just a Wonder Woman movie. Like they just made a good old Wonder Woman movie.
Right,
like
that's
Suicide
very
Squad
important.
like was sort of I think maybe flawed in its concept and like just bringing it all together. Like it was always going to be a tricky thing to bring together. Whereas Wonder Woman was good. I would recommend it to basically anyone who enjoys superhero movies, maybe even if you don't. And I actually want to give this the Jeff Rubin pick for movie most likely to be remembered in 20 years, which is an award I like to give out every summer. I think people are going to talk about this movie forever, basically. I think a lot of people love it. And Wonder Woman's been around for 75 years or 100. I think actually we just passed Wonder Woman. I think the other day was like the 75th anniversary of Wonder Woman #1. So she's about that old. I'm going to say
the one we're going to talk about is Transformers, but only because they'll still be making them in 50 years.
I don't know. I feel like this really solidifies Wonder Woman. I mean, she's always been like a classic American character, but like, I don't know. I feel like this really solidifies her in pop culture in a way.
Will the Marvel movies ever meet the can Wonder Woman ever be in the Avengers? Like,
they've done it in comic books,
right? That's why I ask.
Rarely, like once every 10, 15 years or so, like Marvel and DC will do a joint thing with like Spider-Man and Superman.
It could happen if enough time.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. Like, that's probably how you know the superhero movies are over. I bet they do it before in our lifetimes. Like, I bet they make like a Spider-Man,
sure.
Like, I don't know who the other character will be movie, but let's say Spider-Man meets the Batman or something. I don't know. Yeah, I think they would probably. I mean, the thing to look for, I guess. I mean, so you have Spider-Man, who is like a different. We should talk about Spider-Man because we've talked about it a lot. Why don't I just switch it over? Why don't I just let's just start talking about Spider-Man?
Good thematic jump.
So Spider-Man, I forgot what I was going to say about it.
Now we're talking about Spider-Man Homecoming.
Spider-Man Homecoming. I forgot what the point I was going to make about it, though.
But we're talking about crossovers.
Oh, just that it's another studio. So this is the thing about Spider-Man. Someone was like, why would I go see another Spider-Man movie? And I was like, here's the pitch. It's a high school movie, which the first Tobey Maguire one was, but like Tobey Maguire and like Kirsten Dunst are like 35. You know, like every person in this movie is like actually a teenager.
I think there's like one scene in high school, and then it's pretty much just Green Goblinville.
Yeah,
this one's mostly in the high school.
This is like a real high school movie, and then the other selling point is that this is the first time that he gets to hang out with Iron Man and all these other characters from like the Marvel universe that we've all enjoyed. I think I already said it. This movie's good. It's funny. It's funny as hell. I actually thought it was really.
I loved
funny.
it.
I thought it was particularly funny, even compared to other Marvel movies.
I think the action scenes were good too, but I think the sense of the humor was by far the biggest selling point because it was that funny.
I want to talk. I mean, I really enjoyed a lot of the casting. I mean, first of all, what's his name? Spider-Man. Tom Holland, great. I want this dude to be Spider-Man for the next 30 years. Like I'm into the Spider-Man product they're putting together, and like I could watch this guy be Peter Parker for a very long time.
Yeah.
But I also thought his sidekick Ned, who is not a character I think he's a pastiche of a few characters, maybe from Ultimate Spider-Man 2. Not really familiar with. I thought that was a really fun character. I mean, that's like a class. He even calls guy
in the chair.
Yeah, he like puts a hat on in the movie. Like calls out that he's the funny chair sidekick, and he's great. But he's great at it. His
first audition, I believe.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I mean,
not his first role, but I think his first audition.
He's perfect. I thought Marissa Tomei as Aunt May was really good, and I was like, why is Aunt May usually like decrepitly old? Like that's not how your mom's sister usually works. Like she should only be like one generation up.
That's a good point.
And I was like, yeah, you know what, she could be.
Is that the comic? Do the comics?
Yeah, I think traditionally, if you close your eyes and imagine, I mean, she's been done a million ways, but like I think if you close your eyes and imagine Aunt May, you think of an old lady, and like. Yeah. But if you think of Peter Parker, you think of a young dude. It doesn't make sense that a young dude's mother-sister would be so old. And I never really thought about that before. So
I love Marissa. I mean, I've been a Tomei fan since My Cousin Vinny, so I was on board 100%.
The other one I really wanted to call out was the kid from Grand Budapest Hotel who plays Flash, the bully. So Flash traditionally is depicted as like a bully with like a varsity jacket.
Yeah.
This is in the first. He like the guy who like knocks the tray out of Tobey Maguire's hand in the first Spider-Man. In this one, they kind of reimagined him as like kind of like an alpha nerd bully who like might bully someone over social media.
I think
or something.
Rich and preppy.
Yeah, and I really like that take on the character.
There's that one line where it's like it's like before Spider-Man steals his car, something like Spider-Man is going to like ruin this kid's date just by virtue of fighting a villain. And it's like he's in the car with the date and like he's complaining about like the restaurant. He's like, I'm sorry I made a scene, but like that's not how foie gras is made or something like that. This thing, it was just so specific and out of the blue. And just like of all the lines it could have been, it was just really, really made me laugh. There's so many I can think of so many memorable jokes in that movie. I also really liked two things I'll say. One, I loved the whole theme of like, it has a unity of theme, I think, which is really important about how like about the little guy. The Vulture is his whole origin is that he gets screwed over by the Avengers or whatever because he's just like a scrap guy and he gets The Vulture is basically a construction worker who salvages some of the wreckage from the big alien battle in the Avengers and uses this alien technology to, like, you know, sell on the black market or whatever. And that kind of ties in with Spider-Man, like, wanting to be part of the Avengers and be in the big leagues, but at the end he realized... I don't know. I just really have the idea of... I like how they're building out the world a little bit, that not everyone has to be in the Avengers. And also just seeing... Like, there's one line where Vulture calls, he's like, you know, the FBI, he's listing off different agencies, like, you know, the FBI, the CIA, like, those costume freaks in Avengers Tower, like, just citing them as another law enforcement department. It was like, oh yeah, I guess, I just like seeing... It's cool to see... The world that the Avengers live in from the outside. That was one aspect I really liked.
That's cool, and that's also very Spider-Man-y, right? Like, Spider-Man is relatively poor, and he lives in Queens, and, like, he, like, hustles, you know, and, like...
Your local neighborhood Spider-Man.
Right. And so that is always been... That's, like... I'm glad that you got that from a Spider-Man movie is, I think, a pretty good sign. One thing I want to say about this movie, so if you go back to the... I'm probably going to use the rest of our time on this. I'm definitely going to. We only 20 seconds. The original Spider-Man movie with Tobey Maguire, so in the Spider-Man comic books, his web shooters are like a mechanical thing invented by Peter Parker. In the Tobey Maguire movie, they're like a biological thing, like a result of the spider bite. And this is like... as the Spider-Man movies, one of the first, like, the first really big comic book movies, this was one of, like, the first nits that nerds really love to pick of, like, thing that they changed that doesn't really matter, but everyone decided it, like, ruined everything. Is that his web shooters were biological instead of mechanical. Kind of makes sense that, like, the radioactive spider bite would give him the web shooters is a little more... while it's giving him the other powers, is probably a little easier than, like, also he's a genius who invented this incredible thing, right?
Yeah.
Then... So in those movies, biological. In Amazing Spider-Man, the Andrew Garfield movies, they went back to mechanical because I think they were just, like, looking for ways to make it different than the other one. Because, like, there was no reason... Right. This one, back to mechanical, but they sort of solved the problem of the kid having invented them by making it something that, like, Tony Stark gave him. Though I guess he invented it a little before Tony Stark. But Tony Stark, like, gives him the suit that, like, you know... So it sort of solves the why is this kid a genius inventor 2 problem.
And they make it a theme of the whole, like, you know, if you're nothing without the suit, you don't deserve the suit. Like, it's great.
But I would say, here's my criticism for this Spider-Man movie. Little heavy on the gizmos. I don't think Spider-Man needs, like, a talking AI he can hang out with. I don't like that, like, the logo is a drone he can send off from his suit.
There were a lot of gizmos in it.
Pretty gizmo heavy. Like, I feel like we already got Iron Man in this universe.
You get Stark, you're going to get some gizmos, you know?
I would recommend this to anyone who likes comic book movies, but I would not really recommend it to anyone who doesn't like comic book movies. Like, if you're like, why should I see another Spider-Man movie? You're probably not going to like this movie.
One thing that is interesting about the movie is that, and I saw it with someone who had never seen any of the other movies, and she enjoyed it. So I guess it still kind of works. But I said this. I'm of two minds. Like, it is great that you know, like you're saying, one reason Wonder Woman. On one hand, I think that, like, not being too intertwined in a larger mythos, it can be beneficial for a movie because it could just stand on its own. For example, you said one of the reasons Wonder Woman is probably better than Suicide Squad or the Batman vs Superman is that it doesn't really, it's just about Wonder Woman. It's not trying to, like, have its tendrils into a bunch of other movies and stuff. So on one hand, I think that does matter, but on the other hand, one reason I did like this movie is because, like, so much of the groundwork for this movie had been laid by other movies before it. Like, the first scene of the movie, like, if you haven't seen The Avengers, that scene makes no sense. You're like, why is New York destroyed? Why are there alien rocks everywhere? You know, like...
There's a great scene, too, I think even before that, where you get his view on the events of Civil War and the airplane battle. Like, you get, like, anyway.
And so, like, on one hand, like, that could be, like, limiting to a movie, but on the other hand, it's so fun if you have seen the other movie. So I think part of the reason the movie can have so much fun is because all these things. One of my favorite jokes in the movie is Hannibal Buress, who plays, like, gym teacher.
This is a good joke.
Captain America, he wheels out a TV, and, like, Captain America the actual Captain America for the movies is, like, does this sort of one of those corny, like, 90s VHS things where it's like, I'm here to, like, for your physical fitness test with your gym teacher or whatever. Which Captain America would do. He's does all these propaganda videos for you know, America. And then just Hannibal Buress is like, yeah, I'm pretty sure this guy's a war criminal now, referencing the end of Civil War. So which is correct. It's just so funny.
That is Hannibal Buress. I mean, the movie's full of ringers. Martin Starr's really funny.
But that's a joke that is a joke whose setup is like 3 movies ago.
Yeah. Though I would say you can enjoy this movie. You don't need to have seen the other movies to like appreciate where the alien wreckage came from.
But it enhances it if you have.
People give the Marvel post-credit sequences shit, and like I think people like to be like, oh, it's not movie making or whatever. But, you know, I think of, like, the Dark Universe thing, and I think of the scene in Batman vs. Superman where Wonder Woman literally stares at a laptop and, like, watches trailers for, like, the next 4 DC movies for 3 minutes. And I think the post-credit scene is, like, a very elegant solution to, like, putting something in there that's just for nerds that would slow down your movie. It's a way of, like, hinting at the larger world and getting all that stuff without slowing down the movie. And I don't think anyone has invented a better solution, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm on board for. I don't have a beef with them really.
Okay, we have, I believe, 4 movies left to talk about. Let me maybe lay them out for you, and you can pick which one we go next. I believe here's the rest of the day. We got Dunkirk, Okja. Mm-hmm. We got Guardians 2 and Alien Covenant. Maybe let's do Alien Covenant. How about? I
haven't seen Alien Covenant, but we could talk about that next.
Yeah, let's talk about Alien Covenant.
Or should we have Guardians and to continue?
Do the superhero theme?
Yeah.
All right, let's do Guardians. So Guardians is a movie that came out May 5th. It was
Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2.
Right. Which is, 3 months ago. So it's interesting. This is like a little further in the rearview mirror. Yeah. So it's like a little...
Feels like it's been a while.
It does feel like it's been a while. Summer. So I guess the question is, like, what do I remember from it? I, as has been firmly established, have a extremely high tolerance for comic movies, especially these Marvel movies. But you're a little more on balance and a little more realistic. So I obviously like this one. What did you think?
No, I also liked it. Again, very funny. Which is interesting. I like this movie a lot. I thought it was, but the comedy of it was such a large part of the reason I liked it. Our friend Owen actually had an interesting. I think I might have seen it with him. I can't remember, but whatever. No, I saw it with you. Whatever.
I don't recall anyway.
Owen Parsons, who I also saw it with,
Ruben Jeff guest,
who had an interesting note. He was like, yeah, it's like after Iron Man, they just realized like, oh, we should make after they made Iron Man, and that was a huge hit, but it was also very much fueled by Robert Downey Jr.'s sense of humor and persona. They were like, oh, we should just make all movies like we should try and do this for all of our movies, like make them very funny and enjoyable. As you noted, that's one of the reasons the Marvel movies are so strong. And I think this one has the same or maybe Guardians. Anyway, the idea is just, I don't know, the comedy is so important to all of these comic book movies, and this is a great example of that.
You know what made me really appreciate this movie is Valerian, because you watch a Guardians movie, and again, they make it look easy. You're like, oh yeah, you just get some actors and some special effects, and they're in space or whatever. But Guardians is funny, and Valerian is not. You know, like, the actors in Guardians are real easy to hang out with and spend time with, and like, it's just not the case with Valerian, and it makes you appreciate all the things that Guardians is doing, beyond the crazy special effects and like how effective those are.
It's funny. I think after I saw Valerian, I mentioned structurally, there's a lot of similarities between Valerian and Guardians. They're both like roguish space adventures,
right?
A lot of really out there imagery, even for sci-fi.
And I think part of the fun is that like you can meet an alien at any moment that would look crazy and might have some crazy behavior. Like, you're always ready to, like, meet some fantastic new alien or
And I love that. Like, I mean, one criticism that one friend of mine had about Valerian that I actually didn't agree with was that, like, he just used that freeze ray on that guy, or that dart that, like, let him, which is awesome, the dart that let him control the one alien. Like, they never established those, which I normally, for a movie like a less dense movie, I understand. But like, I don't need you to like show me the weird scene where he shows all the gizmos and stuff. You could for a movie like Valerian or Guardians, you just keep
you want to show
in.
and not tell.
Exactly.
Yeah. So when I think back of this movie and like, what do I remember about this movie?
Guardians 2.
Yeah, it's interesting that there's like. There's so many Marvel movies now that it really is kind of hard to get excited about any individual one. Like, I'll still go see all of them opening night, but there's just so many of them, and they're all about as good as each other, you know, which is very good. They're all funny. So it's like, I don't know, I actually have difficulty, like, getting excited. I don't know if it's fatigue, because, like, I'm still excited to go see each one, and, like, I'm still excited about the overall thing.
Yeah.
But it's hard, like, I don't know, thinking back on it, it's hard to, like, really remember specific things about this movie that, like, I'm like, that weren't in Spider-Man or weren't in Doctor Strange or whatever. I guess what I really remember about this one is Kurt Russell, who is great and really good in this movie, and, like, a pretty interesting Kurt Russell role. I love Kurt Russell. And Also, Michael Rooker, who I love, who was in the first one. He plays Yondu, who's like the guy with the mohawk, who is, I think, actually like one of the original Guardians of the Galaxy in the original
movie?
in the original incarnation of them in the comic book. Like in the comic book, the original Guardians of the Galaxy are not Star-Lord and Rocket Raccoon and Groot and so forth. It's actually Yondu, and then I don't know the other people, but they're the people hanging out with Sylvester Stallone in this movie.
Oh yeah, Stallone.
I would say here's a note for Kevin Feige and Marvel Cinematic Universe. This is the Stallone thing is actually the first time one of these Marvel movies where I felt the movie come to a grinding halt to like set up a future movie or some spinoff or like something not related. Like I think they're actually pretty disciplined about that, and I think people criticize
it was a bit of a mar for you in the film.
Yeah, like it just like was completely disconnected from everything else, you know? And like it's pretty distracting because it's fucking Sylvester Stallone. Anyway, Stallone and the people he's hanging out with in the movie, those are actually the original like 70s comic book Guardians of the Galaxy.
I think, and that's a fair thing about how they utilize Stallone, but I do like him being in the movie, and I do really like how like Kurt Russell, Michael Rooker, Stallone, like there's this great, the creators of that movie, and they're really like, if you love movies and music from the 70s, which you and I both definitely do, like it's great that they pay homage to that, and it's so influenced by it. Not just in the soundtrack, the soundtrack is obviously very famous, but the casting too. Like you said, Kurt Russell. I mean, obviously Kurt Russell's still kind of famous enough to. There's more of the reasons to put him in there than just like nostalgia.
Sure, he's in Fast and Furious too.
Right, exactly. But at the same time, I'm sure like they consider casting him as like that in that Tarantino way. He's a 70s icon.
Yeah, I mean you get
as is Stallone, as is Michael Rooker even.
Right,
Michael Rooker was in some cool shit in the 70s and 80s.
They de-age. There's a scene very early on where you get the same effect they did on Michael Douglas and Ant-Man and Robert Downey Jr. and I guess Civil War, where like you see the 80s version of the actor, and there's like 80s Kurt Russell in the movie, and you're like, fuck yeah.
You're right.
Okay. So,
and I bet you if you go through the IMDb, there's a couple of like in heavy makeup, some other like, oh, this guy was in like The Thing, or this guy was in this movie, or this guy. You know what I'm saying?
What do other people? I feel like Michael Rooker's someone that people might not know, and he's under heavy makeup in that movie. Like, what else would you know him from? He's Merle on The Walking Dead.
Oh, that's a great one. Yeah, Merle on The Walking Dead. I think his breakout was Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer, which is like kind of like it was a 70s. It was like basically like a slasher movie from the 70s to the 80s. Maybe the 80s.
He's in Cliffhanger. He's
with
like,
Stallone.
Yeah, you know when he really entered my world is when he was in Mallrats. He's like Claire Forlani's father in Mallrats, who is memorably stink palmed by
Brody.
By Brody. Oh my god, so epic. Anyway, that's like after that.
Dude, I could talk about Mallrats for 45 minutes, and no one would ever watch this podcast again. Listen to this podcast again. Yes.
So I guess I kind of have the same recommendation for Guardians that I did for Spider-Man, which is like if you like comic movies, you'll like this one. But if you don't, you might not. And actually, Spider-Man's a little easier to recommend. I guess if you're like really into, I can imagine like if you're sick of comic movies, but you really like high school movies, I think there could be something that you might enjoy in Spider-Man.
Yeah.
But this one's really like for comic book movie fans only, which is about 75% of the American population, as far as I can tell, and like most of the rest of the world. So that's
also a sign that Jeff has above his door. It's like a fun thing he bought at Spencer's Gifts
for comic book fans and no one else.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think we're out of comic book movies, unfortunately. So why don't we move on to Alien Covenant, which is a movie
only three comic movies this summer. That's downright.
I know.
Downright conservative.
Are we missing? That's interesting.
It's probably maybe there's one we're missing.
I mean, Thor. Did you see the new? There's some sort of Thor stuff that came out over Comic-Con. Thor looks fucking good.
Well, that's another. Speaking of like Patty Jenkins, another great director choice.
And the cast looks awesome, and it looks like weird as hell and different than the other movies.
That's the movie when we saw that trailer. I think it was. I'm going to kind of correct a previous anecdote I had made, but Owen made the observation that like you could tell. I mean, Thor is good for its own reasons, but you could tell that like you see some. I think you see some Guardians of the Galaxy influence in the new Thor, where they're like, let's just make this movie. Because the first Thor movie is still kind of a serious movie, even though it has comedy in it. This movie, they're like, let's kind of get wacky here with this one.
Yeah, like they're going cosmic, which is fun. Yeah. Okay, Alien Covenant is a movie that was also a while ago. This one came out May 19th. And I
haven't seen this one.
I did not like it very much. It's funny, like about 10 minutes into the movie, I was like, oh, wait a minute. I don't remember anything about Prometheus at all. And then 3 months after this movie, like, I don't remember anything about this movie at all.
I would guess that Prometheus, which I like probably more than 99% of the population, I will admit. However, I also admit that it is like very like confusing and weird and like not like a typical quote unquote alien movie.
Yeah.
It's almost more about weird like space science and stuff.
Philosophy
anyway,
or something.
I would assume that is this movie like that? Is this movie more like Prometheus or more like the first Alien movie?
It's actually a weird split where it's got elements of both, and that's like, but it's not. I don't know that it's good at either. Prometheus is a movie where, like, even though I think generally people were like was met with like a WTF reaction from the populace, there are people who are fans of it. I don't know that I've heard anyone really stepping up to defend Alien Covenant. Here's what I would say. Here's what I do remember. One is there's a scene with Michael Fassbender and a flute, and it is by far the weirdest scene in any of these movies that we're talking about today. Right. It is like the strangest thing I've seen in any like big budget science fiction movie.
I have no idea what this scene could possibly be, and I love that.
And then Danny McBride is in this movie, and I thought he was great, and I kind of thought he'd be like Space Kenny Powers and like the comic relief, and he's not at all. He actually has like a really emotional scene that he totally nails, and it made me interested in seeing him do other things besides.
I saw him in the trailer, and I assumed he'd be like, he'd be kind of a cantankerous spaceship driver,
like a little bit. I mean, he can't.
But he's still heavy lifting. Yeah,
like you can't. I mean, he's still Danny McBride, I guess, but like I thought he was quite good, and it made me interested in seeing him in other things.
I feel like he might come from like a more formal acting background than you think, because David Gordon Green is kind of his like into the film industry. He came up with David Gordon Green, who some of his first films. I think his first film is like Danny McBride. One of some of his earlier films that as an actor are like some indie gems, not like the pre-Foot Fist way. So yeah, I think he's maybe always had, and he's obviously an amazing performer. So I'm not like shocked that he can do like a serious role. But I'm excited to see it.
The other thing that made this movie tough is that like a weird thing about this movie is that like they don't know what the aliens are yet, but like we as viewers obviously do. So there's like a scene, they're like, oh, his blood is acid, and I'm like, yeah, I know. Like, and they're like, see the eggs, and they're like, oh, should we touch them? And like, we know. We've literally seen this movie before and know how it ends, and like it almost acts like it doesn't. I don't really want to talk about Alien that much anymore. I want to use our remaining 2 minutes here to change tracks and talk about another movie.
Pre-gone.
Sneak in a pre-summer movie with my remaining 2 minutes of Alien. It is a movie you and I saw that I feel deserves 2 minutes of recognition. It is The Great Wall.
Oh, I'm glad you.
The Great Wall came out earlier in the spring, maybe. It bombed horribly. This is a movie that was made in China, and it was like China's attempt to be a big player in the world market for cinema in the way we are. They want to like export movies and make tons of money. And they hired a lot of American actors, notably Matt Damon and the guy who plays
the Red Viper,
and he's on Narcos. That dude's in it.
John Malkovich, someone like that.
No, Dafoe, Willem Dafoe,
right? And
then there's also Jet Li and Zi Zhang, I think is her name. She was in House of Flying Daggers. Mm-hmm. So this is also the director of House of Flying Daggers.
Zhang Yimou.
Thank you. And Hero. And I particularly loved Hero in college.
Great movies. Yeah.
So I thought this movie, it looked terrible. Like the commercials were not great, and I think a lot of people assumed it was like sort of a white savior thing where Matt Damon shows up and like saves China. But I want to say that it's not that. It's actually the opposite of that, and it's actually Chinese propaganda where Matt Damon arrives in China and then like learns their ways and actually like gets like becomes a part of them. It's almost a reverse white savior thing.
Absolutely.
So if that was, I mean, I don't know if that's better or worse, but. If that was your concern, that's not in there. So putting that,
and it's
aside,
also a Chinese production. Zhang Yimou. I mean, it's so
this director is like no joke, and he makes like awesome, really some of the best looking action scenes ever. Really,
I remember kind of
this movie's no different.
I kind of liked it. Right?
I liked it a lot. I thought it had cool monsters, cool action scenes.
You get the Zhang Yimou visuals, like that's a big part of it. That's what elevates it above just being like it's. I think it's a totally like. Solid. It just works as an action movie. I wouldn't say it's like transcendent, plot wise at all. I do think it has some cliches, but it's like good enough of as a regular action movie. And then on top, it has this like varnish of unbelievable Zhang Yimou. I hope I'm getting his name right. Visuals, a la Hero, House of Flying Daggers, and that to me, that's what makes it really pop. I think.
Yeah. So as that's the thing is like Alien Covenant. I actually don't know who I'd recommend Alien Covenant to. Like even hardcore Alien fans, I don't think are really going to be served well by it. But The Great Wall, I could recommend if you're basically anyone who was intrigued by my Valerian description would also enjoy The Great Wall. Like it's a cool.
So did The Great Wall not even in China did it make money, or
I don't know how it did in China.
Yeah.
It did not do well in America. I mean, the market like it looked bad. Like the commercials did not serve it well. Like it was actually it's much better than the commercial and the poster made it look. That's really what I want to tell people.
I think what I remember is like each of the bat action sequences, especially on the. I think I actually shot it at the Great Wall of China.
I think that's right. Yeah.
A couple of some of the early action scenes are like basically orchestrated like a beautiful ballet. Did this guy also direct the opening of the Beijing Olympics?
Maybe.
I know they hired basically like the best director they had.
Yeah.
Those obviously are like that's like the best movie of that summer, the opening of the Beijing Olympics. So a lot of the action sequences are done in that way. Like there's scenes where like people and all in synchronized, jumping off the wall with like these bungee cords. There's a lot of like Cirque du Soleil, Beijing Olympics, beautiful choreography, like almost more impressionistic than like a literal action scene. But
I remember a lot more about The Great Wall than I do about Alien Covenant, even though I saw Alien Covenant several months later. There's nothing about the movies that makes them comparable, other than that I'm discussing them right now. Like,
I'm glad we fit The Great Wall in though, because I didn't see some of these, so I wanted to talk. And I think as early as it was, I do feel like it wasn't meant to be like a spring movie as much as they were just trying to like jumpstart the summer, possibly. I would argue.
All right, we got 2 movies left, Pat. Let's save Dunkirk for last because, I don't know, let's just save Dunkirk for last. It's the most recent. Let's instead talk about Okja, which is a movie maybe someone hasn't heard of. Let me, I keep saying start the timer, as I've betrayed the illusion that we have someone standing by the gong. So Okja is a movie that was released on Netflix. This was one of Netflix's big dives into original film. Obviously, Netflix is really running shit on the original TV side, but I don't think they've made quite as much impact on original film. This is one of their bigger bets in original film. It is from the director, I can't think of his first name, but his last name's Bong. That's easy to remember. Korean director. Who made Snowpiercer, which I really loved, and The Host, which I was pretty enthusiastic about. He's made a few other Korean movies. So I was really excited about this movie. It's kind of about it's like sort of a light satirical sci-fi thing where they create this giant super pig that's going to be the future of food, and this girl raises it, and then the company wants it back, and the girl, there's all these adventures trying to get the
kind of like
who has
kind
the
of
pig
like a
or
rescue adventure, an animal rescue adventure set in the world of food, of factory farming and that kind of stuff. I mean, that's something go ahead.
I really liked it. I liked it a lot. It's like all of his movies are really, and I think this is, I don't know a lot about Korean cinema, but I think this is a thing in Korean cinema that his movies are tonally very wild. Like there's like very broad comedy and then like very intense drama.
Yeah.
And so, like, it doesn't totally hold together. It's a little rough around the edges at points. But I thought there were scenes that really stuck with me, actually, and I found really effective. And it's a lot of fun, and I really dug it.
I think that is, I mean, I don't want to, like, not that all movies that aren't American are the same, but I think that is, I think you're right. Like, that a lot of foreign films, I know films in Asia do have a sort of tonally schizophrenic by design.
Bollywood does that a lot, too.
Bollywood, exactly. You'll have one scene that's a musical number, the next scene is, like, extremely broad comedy, and then the next scene will be like a very tender or serious death scene or something. So, but it works. It's not like, that's not a criticism. Like, it kind of makes the movie fun and unpredictable,
it mostly
and
works.
It's all somehow kind of makes a good unified whole. I also like this movie, probably for the reasons you mentioned. I also do like that. I normally don't need my movies to have like. So, I always love, like, bad 80s movies that, like, or 90s movies that have some sort of weird political theme or something, like, I don't know, some of those 80s action films. I can't think of them off the top of my head, but you know what I mean.
Sure.
War Games or something, which is not a bad movie, but anyway, or like Rocky IV when it's depiction of the Cold War. His movies I really like for that reason, but they're actually good. Like, his movies are like, I like. There's usually some kind of like political subtext to them, not in your face, and done in a way that's kind of. I don't find it. I just really like. I mean, even Snowpiercer, I think, has like there's a super like philosophy, political philosophy,
like the poor people are in the back of the train and the rich people are on the front.
Exactly. And this movie as well, and that movie, that's like, I guess, economic inequality, and it's a much. This one, had a narrower target, which is, I guess, just factory farming.
Yeah, so that's one thing that I thought was really interesting, is that it wasn't like meat is murder, don't eat meat. Like, it was pretty specifically against factory farming, and even more specifically pigs, not even like beef, but like pigs as intelligent animals.
Yeah.
And in the movie, Okja is a super pig who is more intelligent than regular pigs, but regular pigs are more intelligent than cows and, I don't know, whatever. The pigs are smart, and we eat a lot of them. I eat a lot of them. And I thought the movie, I thought that was a cool, I mean, I appreciate the nuance in that message, because the main character, the main girl, you see her eat fish, you see her eat chicken, her father says like fish, her grandfather says fish soup is like her favorite food, so it's like, and she's like, clearly, if anyone is the good guy in the movie, it's her, and so it's, and she's eating meat, so it's not, I thought that was interesting and more nuanced than you often see in these movies. The movie had like it checks a lot of boxes for me. You got like satirical science fiction, you got like gore and like kind of like some sort of like stylized gore and violence. You have comedy. Like there's a lot of things like I like.
I like the cast. There's both great Korean cast and American cast in it, and I like just to focus on the American cast for a second. I think that it's really the three most famous American actors in the movie are Jake Gyllenhaal, Tilda Swinton, and Paul Dano. And particularly Tilda Swinton and Jake Gyllenhaal, like they're very bold, weird performances.
Totally.
And I think they just put their trust in this director, and they're having fun. And like, I mean, I've never seen a Jake Gyllenhaal performance like this before. It's like, and it's great though. I mean, again, it's a weird, really weird out there tone, but like, it's awesome that they get it and are doing it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Tilda Swinton especially. She
played a similar kind of like, though different, you know, it's not like they're just repeating themselves, but she played a similar role in Snowpiercer where she was like, at least very out there. But in this, Jake Gyllenhaal is a very weird performance that I think a lot of people will find grating and annoying, but I think worked and like I thought fit in the movie thematically, and like it was actually quite sad towards the end, as you saw like how sad he was, really, you know.
It's good. Well, it's also good to see him because he has a very the voice he uses. He kind of changes his voice in a very distinct way. It's a very kind of, there's some wackiness to it. And I've never really seen Jake Gyllenhaal do that before. He's sort of always been like a pretty serious actor. It's just cool to see them. It's just cool to see him like let his hair down and kind of try something. And Paul Dano, for that matter, who's also, from what I'm told, is a very serious actor. Like even he had his role was slightly more straightforward than the other two, but like it's still, there's some weirdness to it. And
definitely, it's a little more in the usual parameters of Paul Dano weirdness, whereas this Jake Gyllenhaal thing's like completely off the map from where you've seen Jake Gyllenhaal before.
But I dug it.
I want to ask, even though we're past gong here, I think it's worth asking. This was like a big movie. Like I could imagine seeing this movie in theaters and really enjoying seeing it with like a big crowd opening weekend. And I'm curious if you think like watching it, I watched it by myself. I don't know if you watched it by yourself, like watching it at home on Netflix, like affected the experience at all, or just like what you thought about watching it on Netflix.
That's a good question. This particular movie, I mean, I'd love going to the theater, and I'm sure it probably would have been maybe a little more. I mean, some of the intense like animal slaughter, I mean, it's not super graphic, but it's part of it. You know, there's definitely some unpleasant images in it. Those probably would have hit me harder, like if I was seeing it 100 times bigger. So I'm sure I probably would have enhanced the experience, certainly. But luckily, it's also not like, you know, for example, the next movie we're going to talk about, I would think it would have hurt the experience had I not seen it on the big screen.
I will say, and this is a really big compliment to Okja before I move on, is that, like I said, I eat meat, I eat pig, and since I saw that movie, I've been thinking about how I eat pig, and like I haven't stopped eating pig, but
pigs are smarter. Pigs are notably smarter than cows.
Definitely,
wow,
and I'm like, I'm more conscious. Like I haven't stopped, but there's been like a few times I didn't, and like I don't think I'm like gonna give up pigs, but like it makes me think about it when I eat them now.
Yeah,
and that because I was like. Because after watching that movie, I was like, well, I wouldn't eat Okja. And then I was like, but I eat pig, you know?
Yeah.
And so I thought that's almost, that to me is like the ultimate compliment to the movie.
When I saw...
It was effective. Like, I feel like the movie did what it was supposed to me, you know?
When I saw Transformers 5, I really realized that all sentient beings deserve justice, as Optimus Prime.
It's like, you know, I lived in L.A., and in LA, you can't get plastic bags anywhere. Mm-hmm. Now you come to New York, it's like plastic bag heaven. I'm back.
I'm seeing one right here.
And plastic bags are bad. Yeah, you see one right here in my like.
Sorry.
It's full of things.
I don't mean to call you out.
It's functional. I'm storing microphone cables in it.
Oh, that's good. Recycling.
Yeah, exactly. But like. When I don't not use plastic bags, but like living in LA when I did like made me very conscious of it. So it's not like I've like quit it entirely, but like I'm aware of the issue, and I feel like that's
I decline bags unless I absolutely need one. Not not at the grocery, whatever. Yes, hey,
we're so good.
We're basically saints because we watched a Netflix movie.
That's what I'm getting at here. All right. final movie of the day. It came out so recently I didn't see it. That's right, I saw Valerian instead of seeing...
you didn't see Dunkirk?
I did not see Dunkirk.
You saw... Oh my god,
I saw Valerian,
so
I didn't see Dunkirk.
Okay.
Pat Cassels, tell me, this is the movie you've been the most excited about all summer. You've been talking about Dunkirk all summer.
It's true.
And you
As I always am with Christopher Nolan's movies.
Right.
Yeah.
And a lot of people were, and you bought tickets months ago, right?
Yes.
Like, as early as possible.
70
millimeter. Alamo Drafthouse?
Drafthouse, yeah. I wanted to do IMAX, but it didn't work out, but it's fine.
Drafthouse is the best.
Yeah.
Also, I want to say, like, the Drafthouse should be the sponsor for this episode of the podcast. I'm so glad there's an Alamo Drafthouse in New York, and I saw most of these movies there, and, like... I'm so glad the Alamo Drafthouse is finally open in New York.
If anyone from Jeff House hears this and gives Jeff some kind of free pass, I get one too because I'm on the episode.
So, I'm using up your Dunkirk time. Tell me about Dunkirk. Did it live up to those expectations?
It did. I thought it was really, really... I loved it. It was... I definitely went with high expectations, and it met them, which is great. It was... What's interesting about the movie... I'm trying to think of where do I even attack it from? Here's one thing I'll say. It's only 100 minutes long, which was like unbelievable. Which I was so... that's not why it's good, but when I learned that, I was so sure it'd be like 3 hours long.
Yeah.
Like, and I love him so much. He's like one of the few directors that I feel like earn 3 hours of movie. So that was cool. It's very tight. But what was surprising
That's good.
was how like tight it was.
Like Valerian. I'm just kidding. Valerian's like 2.5.
Yeah.
It is the least tight movie of all time.
So before the movie, they showed like at the draft house, they do this cool thing where they showed like Christopher Nolan's inspirations for this movie. And some of them were ones you expected, some like classic war movies, like some, just, I don't know, like The Longest Day, which is like the Normandy beach movie or something. These, he's obviously a classic filmer. But then also, and I'm pretty sure he curated this list, Speed and Unstoppable, the like Tony Scott train movie.
Oh, I never saw that, though. I've heard it's okay.
We're on that list. Yeah, but Speed is obviously great. But, you wouldn't necessarily think... I'm surprised Christopher Nolan's ever even seen that movie. It just seems like a different, like, ilk of his
I don't know.
tastes.
Christopher Nolan seems fun, right? Like,
oh, absolutely. I just mean... it was just like it was just of among the other movies, it was a little out of place. But when you saw the actual movie, it was like, oh yeah, he wanted to make a movie that's just like a kind of nonstop, which is cool because again, his movies are all, I love all of his movies, but like they're pretty like they're kind of epic and sort of long and meaty, and this one was just tighter, which is cool. I will also say, it's an undeniably Christopher Nolan movie, which I was a little surprised. I was like, how is he, like, he this is not a movie set, like, in a black hole. It's not told back, he's not telling the movie backwards, it's not about magicians who are, have these crazy science powers.
Right.
So I was surprised. I'm not going to give too much away, because I think it's part of the charm of the movie, but it's more, he plays with narrative more than you think he would in a movie like this, like a World War II movie, which is cool.
Here's the big question for me, and probably one reason I'm not as excited about it, though I'm going to see it, but one reason I didn't get 70mm tickets months in advance is I don't really like war movies very much. You've heard my robot monster alien theory. Like they're generally not in war movies. Do you think I'll like this movie?
I think you will like it possibly, but it depends on why you don't like war movies. If you're not there's no scenes. If you don't hear it kind of just starts very quickly.
I mean, I've seen good war. There's war movies I do like.
It probably depends on what you take umbrage with in a war movie.
That's a good question.
Because there's no, for example, one scene they don't really have. There's not a million scenes of just people standing around a table and moving little things around. They're here, the Jerrys are here, and we're here, and we're here. That's kind of so it is more like Speed than, say, I'm trying to think of a sort of longer, kind of more sprawling war movie. It's not boring, if that's why you don't like war movies. I'm not sure.
I don't know why I don't like them. I guess, I don't know. War is... I guess I like movies to be fun, and war is inherently not a fun topic,
It's not fun, really. It's funny, Christopher Nolan's movies, I would never describe any of them as fun, which is so weird.
That's true.
Because so many of them are good.
Yeah, even the Batman movies are not fun.
That's probably what happened. You were talking about the reason that those DC movies are so joyless is that they just saw the Chris Nolan movies okay, but we just have to do that. But if Chris Nolan was somehow able to make these kind of joyless movies that still are amazing, whereas Zack Snyder is less good at that for some reason.
So this is good, and Chris Nolan's still one of our best directors. Is that what you're telling me?
I think so. I think that he, the Edgar Wright Baby Driver thing, to bring it full circle, he pivoted. This is an entirely new genre for him. It's his first non-sci-fi or fantasy film since Insomnia. Every movie since then has either been a Batman movie or about space travel or going inside dreams or magicians with crazy superpowers, like. And I really respect him trying something new, bringing a lot of his own thing to it. I don't know. I'm obviously biased because I'm just such a Chris Nolan nerd, like many people are. I don't know. I thought it was, and I was pleasantly surprised by how. I will say it's like his movies. There is sort of a coldness to it. Like I can't really pick out like a favorite character, which it's kind of hard to do for any of his movies. He's definitely has a little. There's heart in it, but like, and some of my friends I saw, I think they took umbrage that there wasn't like a singular hero in the movie. There's not even a lot of dialogue in it. It's kind of like a very quiet film. So some of those Nolan-esque things, if those bother you, you're going to have some of it in there. I'll warn you with that. But if you... I don't know. I would say it's just good for the reason most of his movies are good. But on top of that, tighter than it, like just shorter than his other movies, which is cool. And also... I don't know, just Christopher Nolan, seeing him do a different genre was fun for me. I'd
love to understand, like, Christopher Nolan's one of the very few directors who works in this space that we've been talking about for the past 2 hours that can do whatever he wants, And I'm curious, like, I'd love to get some insight, and after I see the movie, into, like, why this one? Like, he can make any movie he wants, and get any amount of money for any movie. Like, I wonder what it was about this story that, like, he was like... I wonder how he picks his next project, I guess.
Well, he is British, and, like, this is, like, their... I think Dunkirk is, like, their norm... I'm sure the British were involved in D-Day, but, like, this is, like, their Normandy... I don't know, it's such a... This is a very, very major story in, like, English history. Gotcha. So I'm sure that was, like, maybe the honor of doing that or something. You're right, though, that, like, that's... The fact that he could do... I feel like we're very lucky that he has so much in power and able to just get all this money to do these movies that like, and he still wants to write his own screenplays and try weird stuff. And you know what I mean? Like that's not to compare. I don't know. I'm going to compare this to Valerian, but like, even though I think one movie's better than the other, like I'm just glad that there's some original fare in the summer. For better or worse.
Well, we made it through another summer. We're doing this a little early. I kind of want to see Atomic Blonde, and it's not out yet.
Oh, that's
and Detroit looks pretty good.
I'm very excited about both of those
There's one
movies.
other movie. Oh, Dark Tower. I love Stephen King, and I kind of, in the back of my mind, I'm one day going to read all those books, so I'm sort of 50-50 on if I'm going to see The Dark Tower.
Oh, okay.
But
Atomic Blonde, I'm very excited about.
Yeah. But pretty good. Like I said, none of these movies I really didn't like. Like, even the ones I didn't like It Comes at Night, were obviously good movies. Yet I don't know that there was one of these that like I'm super enthusiastic about and like am really like...
Yeah, it's funny, when I looked at the list, I was almost a little nervous because it's so much more fun to talk about a movie that we just both like despised.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I don't really... I mean, I saw The Mummy and like, other than The Mummy and Transform, which we didn't see Transformers 5, but like, are they just getting better at making not terrible summer movies?
I think
or
so.
Are we getting better at avoiding them?
I think that's a piece of it. Like, a lot of, like, 3-star movies here, That's not bad, but, like, I don't know if there's a 4-star one, necessarily.
See, I'm kind of nostalgic, though. I definitely like... That's maybe another reason I have, like, a soft spot for Valerian. A reason I think I'm not being super hard on Valerian is that it's just, like, I definitely do not regret seeing that movie.
Agreed. Well... I guess that's it. We closed the books on another summer.
This is fun, Jeff. Always a highlight of the summer, and it gets me out to see a couple of movies.
Totally.
I probably would not have seen The Mummy if I didn't expect to do. If I didn't know I'd be able to talk about it on this podcast.
You hear that, listeners? Thank you for enabling us to see The Mummy.
That's my blurb. If you ever make a poster for your podcast, made me see The Mummy.
Pat, thank you for doing this summer, and every summer is a commitment that extends beyond the 2 hours we spent recording it. So I greatly appreciate it.
Always.
And listeners, come back in 2 weeks for episode 200.
Woo!
And send me your suggestions for that. I'll see you there. But thanks and bye.
Bye.
That was a HeadGum podcast.